Howdy, folks. Welcome to Appalachian Dragons Presents Old Gods of Appalachia. It's a pretty apt group name for a pretty apt module title. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are going to be running through something called the Luthier's Folly. This adventure takes place in 1932 in the small town of Stonega, Virginia. We're going to pop in here in just a second, but before we do, I'm going to do a quick little synopsis overview of some basic general rules just so everybody's caught up. This is a new system. It is not 5e. It's not what we normally play. This is built in something called the cipher system. What that means is that we're dealing with a totally different set of rules, totally different way to build characters, a totally different way that we tell stories. So I'm going to keep it light and brief. But essentially, you all have 3 pools: might, speed, and intellect. As you take damage or something happens, you reduce each one of those pools by the number of damage that you take, sans any armor or anything like that. And normally it moves left to right. So might's going to go down first, then speed, then intellect. As each one of those hits 0, you will actually move down something called a damage track. We're going to hope that doesn't happen, but it can happen. The only exception to that being that sometimes specific attacks will state that they require a specific type of roll. And if that roll does specify that field, then that field can be reduced versus your might first. That doesn't happen very often, but it definitely can happen. Some of the fields that you have an edge in them. All that really does is it reduces the amount of effort or points that you have to spend to use effort. So for instance, if you want to use effort from that field, it would normally cost 3 points. However, with an edge of 1, you do some quick math. 3 minus 1 equals 2. So you spend 2 points on that effort instead. At level 1, you can only apply 1 level of effort to a task, and that level of effort eases it by 1 step. That edge also counts towards ability. So if you have an ability that says it requires 1 intellect point to use and you have an edge of 1, well, guess what? You now have a free ability that you can use whenever you want at no consequence. Hopefully that all makes sense. And those are sort of the big things. There will be other things that come up as we move along, and if anybody has any questions or if anything comes up you're not sure about, definitely go ahead and ask and we can figure it out. Otherwise, is everybody ready to rock and roll?
Oh yeah, super excited.
Also super excited. I am going to go ahead and pull up the book too, so you let me know if there's anything you want me to reference. I'm going to have it pulled up, just in case, just to be helpful.
Before we start, Josh, I have a quick question for the audience, so to speak. What is a luthier, by the way?
I know this one.
A luthier is somebody who repairs musical instruments, if I'm not mistaken.
I only asked because I thought it was Lucifer's Folly for a minute.
That would be way more ominous.
That's
still ominous.
Yeah, my dyslexic ass. I'm just like, yeah, there it is.
The Lucifer's Folly. All right, everybody, we're going to go fight the devil. Good luck.
Well, I mean, the devil went down to Georgia and the crossroads.
Yeah, we just have.
and all that.
Do we have to beat him in a fiddle contest? Heard.
I mean, I don't know. You have to beat in a fiddle contest. We'll find out later. I'll go ahead and move you guys over. Let me know if it doesn't move. If you don't see this, this is Stonega, Virginia. We're going to start our session in the middle of the day on a random Thursday afternoon. Nothing too conspicuous, nothing too weird going on. I will remind the audience and everybody who's playing that this is an alternate reality version of Virginia, which means that some things will be period accurate, some things will be very much how things would have been in 1932. However, some things I have decided to take liberties with. So while power was kind of prevalent in a lot of areas, this is a small coal mining town. You'll notice there are power poles, there are some motorized vehicles and things like that. Power has started to come to the area. Not every building is going to have electricity. A lot of the major important ones do. Some are going to be lit by candle instead. There will also, well, the other main thing to note is that prohibition is currently in place. So if anybody's drinking, be careful about doing that out in the open, unless the sheriff comes and knocks on your door. And in the scene that we set here, this is sort of a little main thoroughfare in the town. So there are a couple of rows of businesses. This is not the housing area. So in a coal mining town, a lot of times the mining company will set up housing, and then there will be a nice row of places where there are some businesses, some houses, or some like the doctor, the schoolhouse, things like that. this is the kind of road that you're looking down right now. This is more like the area where the shops are, where the doctor's office is going to be off to the left. And at the very end is what they would consider to be the heart of the town. It's where all of the major events happen. It is the sort of town hall. Anything good that happens in this town actually occurs here. So they host dances, they have movies, they have plays, they have all kinds of different things that happen here. This building is largely regarded as sort of the heart of the town. It's where everybody gets their joy from. We're going to start with Devin. Do you want to tell me first what your character looks like, describe him to us a little bit, and then tell us where you are and what you're doing right now? Can't hear you, by the way.
Uh-oh. Oh,
can
maybe
hear
that's
you now.
wasn't close enough. I'll fix that here in a second. Anyway, so not my name or my profession or anything, just to look like what I'm doing.
No, you could definitely give your name, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, where you're at.
Okay. So Robert Wales, I think would be leaning up against one of these buildings. I think he would be a conspicuous distance away from the town hall, but on a Thursday afternoon, he's probably taking a walk. Thursday's the day he would grind through all of his work as the local lawyer of the town, and he's taking a walk and has leaned up against one of these buildings or one of the poles of the porch or something, and is admiring the town hall. He spends several minutes, looking over the property. Almost as if you would expect a man to leer at a woman. Other than that, he might get himself some lunch and head back to his office.
Cool. Does he have any defining features, anything specific about him that stands out?
I'm so sorry. You said say what he look like. Actually, if I drag this token down here, will you make it big, please? Because I like that picture.
I can certainly
Robert
do
is
that.
well dressed since it's a work day, and since he's on a lunch break, he would be wearing his suit. I think if my understanding of period is correct, he would have regular clothes and one very nice suit that was for lawyering. He's probably got that on, and he's young, fairly young, with a kind of gray. It's a little more than a 5 o'clock shadow, but very kind of serious demeanor. He doesn't necessarily look friendly, but he's not glowering at anyone either.
Okay. Awesome. Inspecting the town hall a little bit, not at all conspicuous. Gonna grab some lunch and head back to the offices, I guess. Good deal. Thanks for introducing yourself. We're happy to meet you. Next we're gonna go to, how would you pronounce this? Talitha?
Talitha, I would assume. Yeah.
Talitha. That sounds a little more southern. All right, Talitha.
I mean, yeah,
tell
that's
us a little,
from the Appalachians, so. gonna
tell
have
us a little
some
bit about
twang.
yourself, what you look like, what you're doing, what you normally do, and what you're up to right now.
All right, so Talitha would be about, I'd say about 5'2". She's kind of a shorter, rough around the edges kind of lady. She's got a little hat and a big wool coat. Carries around a medical, like a leather medical bag. She's the town's midwife, so she would be wandering around town, just kind of, I guess, checking up with all of her moms. Seeing, probably doing checkups on mothers that are expecting, and following up with mothers that had babies, seeing how they're doing. Yeah, I mean, she's just a regular old scrappy gal. She looks kind of not. She got the RBF, she's, no one wants to mess with her. She's just kind of cut and dry, lives in the woods. No one really knows a whole lot about her.
Okay, perfect. And last but not least, I'm going to ask Dean, if you will introduce yourself, tell us what about yourself, and I'm actually going to tell you where you are once you get done.
Ooh. All right. Well, y'all, I reckon my name's Dean Sampson, the sheriff around these parts. Dean is a clean-cut looking guy, about early to mid-30s, kind of average build. He's got kind of a high and tight military kind of haircut, which he keeps underneath a wide brim cowboy style hat. And he's the town sheriff. He works there with about I'd say the one deputy there. Small town, not a whole lot goes on.
All right, Dean. You are actually inside the town hall right now because along with most of the town at this time, that tomorrow night there's going to be a bit of a small event. People are starting to chatter about it. They're pretty excited. A young lady by the name of Opaline and her fiddle and friends are going to be putting on a little show. There's going to be a town dance tomorrow night, and everybody's pretty excited about it. They've asked you to come in, make sure the building's sort of cleaned out and clear, make sure they have plenty of room to set up as they're doing construction and general stuff like that to get the dance floor, the stage, and all that ready. And, more or less just make sure the area is secure. You're going to do a walkthrough, you're going to make sure that everything's going the way that it's supposed to be going. As you do you have anything tied to your character that gives you any kind of training or specialization in, I would say, seeing or overhearing things?
Yes. Hold on, let me open my sheet up real quick. I have it written up somewhere. See here, I have training in all skills involving listening and hearing.
Oh, perfect. Okay. I'm gonna say you don't even have to roll for this then. As you're sort of doing your walkthrough, you actually overhear Opaline. She's sort of chatting with her friends in the Shape Notes, which is the name of her group. Pacing the stage a little bit, and you hear her sort of talking a little bit to a woman that you would also recognize, maybe not know quite as well, known as Florence Thomas. They're chatting a little bit back and forth, sitting on some stools on top of the stage, just getting set up. And she looks over and says, "Goodness, I didn't know for sure if we were going to be able to get this thing going. My pawpaw's fiddle broke the other day, and I was so nervous because we couldn't get a replacement in town quick enough. It sure is nice that feller came in and offered to fix it for me for near nothing. I can't believe it, honestly. I'm super excited to get that thing back tomorrow and see if we can break it in and get this show going. I bet it's going to sound even better than it did the day I got it."
Around the time she gets done saying that, Sheriff Sampson will come up and tip his hat, say, "Good morning, ladies. What was that I was hearing about? This holdup y'all had. I mean, hear y'all play about every event we have around town. It would have been a shame to miss you."
She'll look at you for a second, say, "Oh, I didn't even see you walking over there, Sheriff. Yeah, the other day I was pulling my fiddle out of the case, and you wouldn't know it, but part of the body was caved in. I don't know what happened. It looked almost like a horse stepped on it. And I was panicking up and down the side of this thing, trying to figure out how in the world we were going to put this show on. I know the town was so excited. It's our big chance to get up here and really show what we're making. We're trying to work on some unique pieces, and I was just so scared we weren't going to get to play. And some feller overheard me talking about it out on the street and said, well, he's a feller that could fix this kind of stuff. I'd never seen him before. I think he's just traveling into town that day or something. I honestly haven't seen him since, but he said that he could doctor it right up for me, and he'd get it dropped off at the general store when he got done. It's kind of weird. I didn't mention my ma worked there, but he seemed to know, or at least assume, and he's going to drop it right off for me so I could pick it up tomorrow afternoon right before the show."
Huh. I haven't heard anything about anybody coming through town. Did you happen to get this gentleman's name?
You'd think I would have, but she'll sort of rack her brain a little bit. And she'll say, I feel like it started with a P, maybe? Pollard? Does that sound right? And she'll sort of look at Effie as if she's supposed to know anything about what's happening because she wasn't even there for the conversation. And she'll say, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure his name was Pollard."
Well, without trying to seem like I'm digging too much, I'll say that, well, surely I'll see him during the festivities at some point, and I'll have an opportunity to thank him for saving y'all's concert today.
She'll say, "All right, I hope so. I invited him to come listen to us. I mean, the fella didn't even ask for anything up front. He better get to enjoy the show at least."
Oh, certainly. Well, I reckon if there's nothing else y'all ladies need, I'll be continuing my walk through the city hall.
That sounds good. Thanks for checking in, Sheriff.
Pleasure's mine, ladies. And he tips his hat one more time before going off.
Cool. I'd say that takes just a little bit of time. There's not a lot else going on around town today, though. Is there anything anybody wanted to try and get up to? Anything particular anybody wanted to do? I know that's a very open-ended question without really knowing the area very well. There are a few places you could stop in. I will say that as the afternoon creeps on, I assume that if anybody has any work they need to be doing that day or anything like that, they're going to start wrapping that up. I just want to make sure there's nothing anybody had in mind before we move to another small interaction.
I think that's what Robert would be doing canonically. Like, today's the day he gets almost all his work done because he doesn't want to do jack all tomorrow.
Understandable. Friday's got to be the easy day, right?
Mm-hmm.
As you're sitting at your desk eating your sandwich, you know, I'd say probably a couple hours passed since you went and picked up your lunch and went to your office. You hear a little gentle knock on your door. As you get up to open it, you see the beaming face of Effie Thomas. It looks like she has a little basket in her hand, and I don't think she knew that you'd gotten yourself lunch and she was planning on bringing you some. So she sees you with your sort of like scraps, a little bit of a sandwich sitting on the plate, and she says, oh goodness, Robert, I didn't realize that you'd already eaten. I packed you a little something. I thought you might be hungry.
A man can eat twice. Why don't you come on in? He'll pull a chair out for her and let her sit down. Now, you don't usually bring me food unless you've got something you want to tell me.
She'll, you know, and she's not a small woman. Looks like she's got a bit of strength behind her. And as you sit there, you actually catch the aroma of one of her pastries, which she's very well known for. I think that perks you up a little bit because you know that if nothing else, you're about to get you a piece of pie, and that's pretty exciting.
Let's say.
And she'll look at you and she'll say, well, I didn't, you know, I wasn't going to be too forward, but, you know, we spent a little time together, and there is a dance tomorrow night. You planning on mingling with anybody there?
Well, of course, I have to go. To be honest with you, I was going to lurk on the wall all night. If and you want a dance or two, I can't say no to a lady, but I won't promise more than a couple.
That sounds just like you. Yeah, I won't intrude too much, but, you know, you never know where the night takes us. Maybe you'll find my hand or I'll find yours, and we'll get out there and scoot around a little bit.
I have to admit, those pastries there in your basket are worth at least 2 per pastry.
Oh, man.
Oh. You make a girl feel a little too good about herself. Goodness, I'm glad that you enjoy the pie so much.
I think we all do. It's mine.
Oh, certainly. Effie makes the best pie in town.
She'll sort of cordially nod unless there's anything else that you wanted to talk to her about or ask her. If you have any questions at this time or anything like that, you could definitely ask them.
Because I don't know. I think it's better to verbalize this like this. I think he would try to this is not going to sound like. It would be like, when are we going to see each other again? And he means like, when are they going to get together to dish again? Specifically to dish.
Okay. She'll say, well, I don't have much going on tonight. When's your quitting time today?
What time is it?
I'd say it's about 3-ish in the afternoon, a little bit later.
Couple of hours, give or take.
All right. Well, I think you know where to find me, our usual spot. She'll give you a little wink and a nod.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Don't eat all that pie at one sitting now. I don't want you getting a tummy ache. She'll sort of chuckle to herself a little bit. She knows. You're going to eat the whole thing.
Yeah, I am. I might take some to the sheriff. Depends on if he had business with the sheriff.
I think you probably would, because the stuff you're working on right now is wrapping up a particularly interesting case.
Well, just my headcanon was like, if he had to go see him towards the end of the day, like he locks up early, goes to take whatever he needs to take to the sheriff for the case, but also brings him some pie. Save some for him. That was kind of my headcanon.
Oh, that sounds perfect. You could pop by the sheriff's office and maybe you guys would go somewhere.
Oh my.
I'd say a couple more hours pass is probably about quitting time, and there's not a ton else going on around town. If you want to mosey over towards the sheriff's office, you can definitely do so.
I will. He'll lock up. I don't know if he lives at his office, or how far out of town, etc., etc. He will lock up. I will say that
That's right in town, I'd say.
maybe a little odd character quirk. You'd think a lawyer's office would have the funds for electricity, but there are no lights in his office. It's all lantern light.
Very cool.
He will lock up and head to the sheriff's office to drop off his cases.
I will tell you all, since most of you are people of some level of stature within the community, you would have the ability to have your own house, whether it's within the sort of buildings that you typically work in. So I could see the law office being like a 2-story setup where like the bottom floor is more of a like a greeting area / you got an office in the back, and then you can stay upstairs if you would like.
Like it.
As you are approaching the sheriff's office, you see a face that you've only seen around town a handful of times. You guys don't really have a mighty need to cross paths way too much. But you again see, I'm going to butcher this name, Tolitha?
Same.
Tolitha.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
going to
okay.
say this wrong every time.
Talitha. Yeah, Talitha's
Talitha.
right.
Tolitha.
Could call her Tully.
Tully. I like
Tully
that.
is easier.
I'm like, that sounds like something like Southern folk would do.
Yeah.
Shorten it as much as possible, add a Y on the end.
Tully. Got it. That's going to be way easier for me. I'm about to put a note in so I can remember this. And you almost get to the front door about the same time. I don't know how much you two have interacted before, but you could definitely have a little conversation if you want.
He would open the door for her when when he realized. Let's see. Well, howdy, ma'am. It's been a while. How's Miss Johnson after her delivery?
She doing fine, I reckon. I mean, that baby bigger than watermelon, the watermelon that won the fair last year. But she's doing good, eating like a cow. She's gonna take her cigarette out of her mouth and put it out on the bottom of her boot for nodding, as like a thank you for holding the door open.
Okay. Well, it sounds like they're blessed. Robert will smile, but it won't touch his eyes. And he'll follow her in there, and he'll say, something bring you specifically to the sheriff's office, ma'am? We have some pie if you want it.
know.
But don't tell the sheriff I gave it to you.
No sweets for me. I'm on duty. I can't be hopped up on the sugar. Sheriff has business with me always, and you know it.
My condolences. I'm sorry I missed. Did you say what business you had with the sheriff?
I'm not quite certain of that myself. He's just always calling on me for something or the other, and I keep telling him I don't want to hear none of it.
His eyebrows go up into his hat, like disappear into his hat. Well, let's go see what he needs with you then. He's a reasonable man. I find that hard to believe. I will go that way with Tully, unless she has anything else.
No, that's...
You guys walk in, and the town's not particularly big. The sheriff's office has a couple of holding cells in the back, and you see Dean sort of kick back in his chair with his boots propped up on the desk. Over in the corner, you see another face that you've probably seen just a handful of times, not too many times. It's a man, older gentleman by the name of Donald. Has a bandana around his neck and a little white mustache with a wide-brimmed cowboy hat on. Looks like he's sitting at the other desk over in the corner, piddling away at something.
Devin is sus of Donald. He doesn't know why. Sheriff, I brought that work you was looking for. He'll throw it on the desk. I also brought pie to make up for it.
Ooh, pie. Fucking Nino will sit up and put the cigarette out. Rolled cigarette he was smoking out, and start digging into it.
think Robert will go sit down, and now that he's did his drop off, he will take out, like, I think he carries a pipe and tobacco around instead of smoking a cigarette. So it's a bulldog pipe. You'll notice what that is. It's sort of like a big fat bowl and a straight stem, very compact. And so he will sit down and start lighting that up. And he'll say, "Miss Tully here said you had some business with her, Sheriff. Do I need to step out?"
Nah, it's nothing that doesn't pertain to you as well, Robert. Given the nature of our shared business.
I think Robert would just look a little darkly, as he's lighting up his pipe. He's gonna puff on it, and he may not even answer, or he'll gesture at you.
However, I might ask Donald to leave. If you'd give us the room, Deputy Knox.
All right. Man, I wasn't gonna do this, but I'm gonna do it. Donald goes to get up and leave, and as he does, he accidentally kicks the corner of his desk and falls over a little bit, knocking some papers into the floor, and says, "Oh, so sorry, Sheriff. I don't know. I got 2 left feet. I swear to God." And then he'll sort of storm his way out of the room.
In Robert's experience of him, is he usually clumsy?
Oh, yeah.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
Real Barney Fife motherfucker.
I only ask because I have a specific skill called seeing through deception. So I just wanted to say that because I'm a little sus.
Oh. I would say that in this instance, like you've seen him around a bit. The sheriff mostly puts him to work on like odds and ends jobs, things he doesn't feel like he has time for or anything like that. He's never really seemed to be much of a go-getter, and most of the time, in your experience working with Dean, he doesn't really put him on things that Dean feels are important for this exact reason.
Okay. Solid.
Well, he makes his way outside, leaves the room to you.
As the sheriff finishes his pie, I'm assuming?
We lost you for a second.
I was saying I'm assuming there was a reason? We got some exposition or something?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he'll drop some papers in front of you, and you guys obviously share a little bit of common interest. As far as this town's concerned, there's not much that happens that doesn't come across the sheriff's desk. Anytime there's any kind of incident, especially with the mining company or the railroad, well, there aren't very many lawyers in town that folks are aware of, and so obviously you two are going to have at least a strong working relationship across events that happen in this town. At this point, you two know pretty well that most people aren't aware of these types of things. It's not crazy common knowledge. People are aware that there are some things that maybe sometimes lurk out in the woods. There are some things people can do that aren't deemed natural per se. But they don't really see the butt end of it too much. They're mostly shielded from it in this quiet town. There's not too much crazy going on, not a lot happening. And when the things that do go bump in the night crop up, and they're a little more ominous than the standard run-of-the-mill stuff that creeps out of the woods, you two generally know about it. And that has happened semi-recently. You're actually just wrapping up a little bit of a case now where there were a couple of men that came creeping up out of the mines and didn't seem like they were all there. They started to get pretty close to town, actually attacked another miner, almost killed him. Didn't quite finish the job before the sheriff himself actually showed up and took care of business his own kind of way, just a little bit. They weren't particularly tough, but they definitely seemed strange. That's not the kind of thing that you guys have seen happening around these parts before. And so you were handling the lawsuit that the person who was almost killed was bringing up because he was trying to sue the mining company for damages and also sending him into a dangerous work environment. But at this time, people don't particularly have a crazy amount of rights. Comes to that kind of stuff.
Poor soul's mildly fucked. They own his house. They pay him in company money. Shrugs. Not a terrible amount we can do to help him, Sheriff, especially when that fucking son of a bitch gets down here. He's referencing whatever lawyer would come to represent the mining company.
Company never does care much about the human cost.
Preach. Oh, that's not the correct vernacular. I apologize.
It could be. There's a church in town. It just depends on your persuasions.
Well, can't stop all the evils, I guess, Mr. Wells.
Do you think?
However, there is. But continue. Sorry.
Do you think Miss Tully here would know anything about the ones that came up out of the mine? He will kind of look over at Tully, not suspiciously, but it's almost like a level look, almost like not openly suspicious, but something. I don't know. He's not suspicious you did the crime. He's just suspicious you might know some freaky things.
Talitha is gonna be over in the corner with her arms crossed, kind of grumbling and mumbling about something or the other. You think I know anything about crimes? I deal with mothers and babies. Ain't no crimes there.
And yet you don't live in town, ma'am. You often keep to yourself, which you have to admit is mildly suspicious. You're not on trial. I don't think the sheriff brought you here to question you as a suspect. We're looking for a consultant, I would think.
Certainly.
Well, I don't live much close to the mines. I hadn't seen anything out of the ordinary.
Haven't seen anything out of the ordinary. Okay. And you ain't got I guess he knows. You ain't got no ideas of something that could twist men like that? Any pointers would be appreciated.
I mean, I reckon, maybe when they were born, they didn't give enough oxygen. I mean, that'll turn a man crazy. He ain't gonna grow up right. Some people drop them babies on the heads. You wouldn't believe the amount of people in this town I've seen their mama done drop their babies on their heads.
I'm gonna interject here and ask two questions. One, does the sheriff's office have power, or is it also like a lamplit situation?
I say it's a lamplit situation. There's not a whole lot of use for power. We just need it for light, so there's no reason.
While you two are having this conversation, I'm gonna ask Tully if she will make me just roll a d20. It's an intellect roll.
Oh boy!
While this is happening, I know that Robert mentioned earlier he has something that allows him to see through deception.
I do.
So
I'm trained in that particular task.
I would also ask you to make an intellect roll.
Intellect roll. Okay. How do I do that through this thing? I just click intellect, perhaps?
Yeah, or you can just roll a flat d20 because there aren't a ton of modifiers. I essentially determine the DC of this. Oh, this is the first time we're doing this. There are levels of things that happen. I know the DC of pretty much any event or occurrence that happens. You guys generally roll a flat roll unless there is something that gives you a modifier that adds to it.
You're right.
Like Cyberpunk.
Because stuff is eased and that math is on you. Okay.
Right. So essentially, if it's ease, that means you just don't have to roll quite as high in order to be successful.
I got you.
Both of you rolled surprisingly high. Two things happen here, and you guys sort of share a look as it does. Tully notices that the shadows behind you from the lamplight seem to twist in a weird kind of way. She probably doesn't say a ton about it, but I think she notices that it seems like the shadow being cast off of you might be it seems like, it could be a trick of the light. It could be the way the wind's blowing the candles. It could be the way the lamp's blowing the light and the lanterns. But it seems like it sort of amorphously shapes into things that don't quite look exactly like you. In the same moment that you guys lock eyes as she notices this, you know that she probably doesn't know a ton about what happened in the mines, but her talking about not knowing that things happen outside of just standard childbirth might not be the absolute truth either. I'm not going to give you any more than that. I'll let you guys decide how you want to handle that situation, but that's what happened.
Are we aware that we've both gleaned this information?
I would say that as you lock eyes, it's almost like a knowing look. It's like you kind of look at each other for a second, squint, as if sussing out each other like, I think I know that you know, and she's looking at you the same way, which startles you at first, because you're like, well, what could she know about me? You have to think about it for a long, hard second before you realize.
Probably for the first time. probably for the first time since they met, Robert will smile, and it will be genuine. It's not necessarily a friendly smile, and his shadow's head shape shifts to this big, like almost demonic-looking grin. But when you glance back, it's gone, a regular shadow again. He'll break eye contact with you, and he'll say, "Well, Sheriff, it is about time to wrap up. You need to file those tonight."
Very true. On that note, before y'all leave, I might have a task for y'all that might go beyond the jurisdiction of a badged officer. I'm not trying to rouse suspicion, you see.
Mm-hmm.
I got wind of an outsider in town.
Oh my!
He hasn't checked in. He hasn't checked in with the sheriff's department, which is mighty suspicious. And I was wondering if y'all could maybe see if you could dig up anything, see if you hear anything about him. And I forgot his name. It does start with a P.
You think it's Pollard.
Pollard.
Yeah,
Like Pall, Poll, Pollard.
Pollard.
Pollard. Well, if
You
you're
know, I
gonna
hate
have to
being
roped into stuff, is that what you're about to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, Robert would be like, "Well, if you're gonna have to work a little late, I can work a little late. I do have somewhere to be in an hour or two on Sly again, but I don't mind to take a look around for a few minutes." He'll kind of glance at Tully and be like, "You have more sway with the most of the townsfolk. I would appreciate if you could lend me your image. They find me mildly intimidating for some reason."
I mean, you could call it that, but I reckon no one around these parts really truly will ever trust a lawman.
That's
I don't mind
the world
helping.
don't have to trust lawyers. They just have to use them from time to time. Nonetheless, I would be willing to trade you more pie in the future. He totally forgets that you turned it down the first time. Damn. I mean,
Listen, I guess I gotta
I'll
help
gladly
'cause
take her
it's gotta
patch.
be done.
Say it again, Tully.
Oh, someone's
No.
gotta do it. It's a job that needs done.
Oh, well. Glad to hear it. Let's go see what we can find out. I and or we will be back in an hour or so, Sheriff.
See y'all then.
Okay.
And the sheriff goes about filing the papers that Mr. Wells brought.
Cool. I'd say you guys beat the streets a little bit. Do I want to make this a game of luck, or do I want to make it straightforward? I'd say you guys know the town pretty well. You walk around long enough. You normally know the people, a bit of something about what's going on. You could check into a couple of different spots if you wanted to. There is a general store that you could pop into. There's also a doctor's office, but unless the guy's hurt, I doubt there's any reason he would ever pop into there. You also know that there is a, what would they call it? It's like a boarding house of sorts. It's not necessarily a full-blown hotel. It's more like a place that got set up for when the railroad men or like people from out of town have to pop in for some business reason. They got a place to hang out for the night.
That seems like a good place as any.
Yeah, that's our best lead.
Okay.
Do either of us know the
I
feller
will.
behind the counter?
Well, you walk in.
Oh my, there's two fellers.
Place is actually pretty nice. Also, I found out that Roll20 lets you put nameplates underneath things, which is pretty cool because in a setting like this, you're gonna know most people. So like having the nameplates there is just helpful in general. So you see a couple of people that you actually know before. This is Gilman's boarding house, and surprisingly, Ruth Gilman is the owner and proprietor of the place, and she has an assistant that works with her named Bill Connors, who is running the desk when times it's a little bit busier. And they know that with the recent hubbub around the incident that happened in the mine, there have been a few people coming in and out. She wanted the extra help through the weekend, and so both Ruth and Bill are here tonight.
And you don't mind, ma'am. I prefer you to be the good cop, me to be the bad cop. not to use an overused phrase.
I reckon.
Honorary
I always said we
deputies.
should talk. She'll approach, I guess. I figure everybody already knows her, so no one's like shocked to see her. Now, gentlemen, ma'am, we got a few questions for you all if you ain't too busy.
I think Ruth will speak up and she'll say, "Well, I ain't too busy right now. What's going on?"
How old is Ruth?
I would say that she's in her mid-30s.
Okay. Now, she would approach it first by making small talk. So say Ruth, how's your baby doing? She doing all right? Recovering just fine?
Oh, yeah. Sleeping like a lamb every night. It's great. Thank you so much for all your help, by the way, Ed. Things were a little dicey there for a second. I don't know if we would have made it without you.
Oh, the shucks. It was all her that did all the hard work. You know, I'm just there to catch them as they fall out, but glad to hear she's doing all right. We got a couple of questions for y'all that, you know, might not be what I would normally ask, but y'all seen any suspicious or unusual looking fellas coming around here? I know we get a lot of folk coming through here and there, but what would I know anything about this guy that I could describe him? What information were we given about this man?
Is
You didn't
possible.
really- Yeah, you didn't really get a ton of physical description. All you really got was a possible name. And it was more like I
Okay.
think that was what he said.
Yeah, we reckon his name, you know. See, and
If you,
I already done forgot it.
Yeah,
if
I
you,
was
it's
about to say.
Pollard. It,
But say she
if you-
asked, can she ask if Pollard checked in? If a man named Pollard is
Pollard,
checked
yeah.
in? Yeah.
She'd pull out a big heavy book from behind the counter and sort of start flipping through it a little bit. There's a bunch of signatures on the book. And she'll say, "Well, you talking about suspicious folk. Every time somebody comes from the railroad or the mines, I think everybody looks a little suspicious. I don't know if they look down on this little town or what's going on, but they are not very nice to me. And honestly, it's exhausting." And she starts to rattle and get more and more manic as she's talking. She said she was doing well, but now that you look at her, you can tell she's a little tired. She's got a newborn baby. She seems a little bit out of it. And she's flipping through the book and flipping through the book. And she says, "It looks like maybe somebody checked in by that name, but it's very terrible handwriting. The last name is pretty legible. It just says P.O. is the first name. That's all I can really make out. That's got to be close, right? And the last name is Bales? Is that what I'm saying? Bales. That's it. That's the one."
Pollard.
All right, you remember
Bales.
anything about him coming in? This particular Bales fella?
She'll look at you for a second and she'll say, with all the hubbub just happened in the mines, we ran 30 or 40 people through here the last few days. I mean, I got a name in a book, but he could have been any single one of those men that came through here in suits. Most of their type all look the same, you know? They're all wearing hats and suits and collars and all kinds of stuff. It's hard to tell them apart sometimes. They all just come through here like a flash of lightning.
She'd be truthful.
Yeah, she's being truthful.
Does it have a room wrote down? That's not how this works, is it? It's like they sign it. It's not like a...
Well, they would have room numbers, and she looks beside it, and she says, "Well, according to what we have written down here in the paper, he's up on the second floor, room 3 on the left, third door down. I think that's where he'd be at. At least that's the key we gave him."
You mind too much, Ruth, if we go and call on this gentleman? Just nothing, not gonna start no scraps or anything, but just got a couple questions for him.
She looks
on
at you.
official business.
She looks at you and she says, "Now, Tully, I'm proprietor of a place that a lot of people come here and stay, right? You just asking to go in some guy's room that I ain't never seen before. What's he gonna think if you just open his door and walk on in? You think he's ever gonna come back and give me any more business? I don't know. I know you pretty well, but even me, that makes me a little uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie."
Now, Ruthie, you know I ain't gonna barge you in. I'm gonna be polite like, and I'm gonna knock on the door. I'll give him a chance to come out. I ain't gonna barge in.
And I try to slip away while she's talking to her. I'm trained in stealth tasks.
Sure. I'll also say that if anybody has, either one of you have anything that gives you training in, I would say like anything around persuasion, talking, anything like that, that might benefit you here.
Oh well, I have intimidation. And I have an idea of how I can... I was about to say, I have sort of an idea of how to leverage it. I like to think at this point Robert will get up and he'll mosey over and regardless of how Devin sounds, he doesn't want this to sound threatening. And he'll say, now ma'am, I understand that you just gave away a customer's information rather quickly to a kind face. There's more than a few things you could run amok of the law doing that sort of thing. But we're here as sort of a favor to the sheriff. And you know, has he seen her at the speakeasy before?
Probably
If
not, especially
okay.
not with a young child. You know, she may have like popped in there in her younger days along like a while back, but recently definitely not.
Yeah. And I know the sheriff is very selective in the things he lets slide. You pretend you never gave us this information. We'll pretend you never gave us this information. And then we'll go where we please.
Okay. Make me a roll. Let me see what you get.
What? Oh. What? It looks like I didn't do that right here. I don't see where, unless it did roll a 1. It did roll a 1. Okay.
It did roll a 1. Uh-oh. What do I want to do here?
I get shot.
She'll look at you and she'll sort of squint for a second and she'll say, "Sir, now I know you're not trying to be too tough on me now, are you? I don't know if your friend Florence would be very kind to the thought of you coming in here and trying to rough up a woman. That does not sound like your character at all, mister." And at this point, Bill Connors will speak up and he'll look at you and he'll chuckle to himself and he'll say, "That's a mighty silver tongue you got there, fella."
Ooh,
You know how them lawmen are.
Yeah,
All silver tongue.
Makes a living. I apologize for the offense, Miss. Robert wouldn't forget her name. Deb.
Ruth.
Ruth.
Miss Gilman.
Like I said, we're here on behalf of the sheriff. It's not good to let strangers. Oh well, guess that is good for them to let strangers run around. He's gonna put his foot in his mouth.
Okay. I'll say this. You know where the room is. I don't think you're gonna get the key. At least not with that roll. What you decide to do with that information is up to you. Specifically though, Robert, I want you to make, do you have anything that gives you any kind of additional insight, perception, anything like that? Same goes to you, Tully.
I am trained in perception.
Okay. Roll me one more d20.
Let's see what this looks like. So, difficulty unknown, no effort. Oh, I can add effort. I'm not gonna do that yet, but I will. I'll just roll this time.
Ooh, 16. When Bill spoke up and he accused you of having a silver tongue, you saw his eyes light up a little bit. And as you start to rack your brain, you realize that you've met Bill Connors. And while this man looks a lot like Bill Connors, something about him feels weird. It's not quite right to you. And now I need you to make an intellect defense roll for me.
Oh no, he's gonna fuck me up. How do I make a defense roll? Let's see what we can figure out here.
If you don't add anything extra to the roll for like defense rolls, then it
It
would
don't
still just be
matter.
the same intellect roll.
Can I add effort to this?
You could if you wanted. Whatever your edge is in intellect, you subtract that from the 3.
So it is 3 no matter what to apply effort. I thought it was 1.
Yeah. No, so
Well,
with
it's
an
just
edge,
gonna
like
get
if you have
you
an
to talk
edge
to
of
Luke.
1, it costs you 2 points instead of 3.
I'm gonna do it. Oh god, it looks nasty.
6.
Interesting. Okay. Nothing bad happens to you, but he stares at you for a real long time. And that was a roll to see if you mask your knowing. You didn't mask it very well. He knows you noticed something. And you see this big, disgusting grin creep across his face.
Right.
And he looks at Ruth for a second and he says, "Now, Ruth, hang on just a second. I think this fella's probably all right. I might be able to help you out, but I might need you to sign a little bit of paperwork, liability and all that, you know? You want to meet me back here in my office? Your friend can come along too if she really wants to."
Boom, 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 boom.
Yuck, my Discord can't hear me
No.
going. Man, I think Robert would go, but he also like, oh man, he checks his gun. For those of you that know what that means, he puts his hand over it wherever it is to make sure it's there, and then he's gonna go that way.
I feel
Yes,
like
almost
Talitha's just
exactly.
gonna stay with Ruth for a second, because Talitha wouldn't know any of this going on, right?
I mean, she hears the conversation those two are having, but she can choose whether or not she wants to go. Like, the invite was specifically to him. He did say you could tag along if you wanted, but you were more like an appendage to the conversation than you were at the point.
Well,
you
I
could
don't.
choose to stay out
I
here and talk
haven't
to her.
connected that there's like something weird going on.
That's true.
Yeah.
You don't know anything.
Yeah.
I didn't see that weird
Exchange.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll check my dagger
I
on the
wouldn't
way
have-
in too.
I'd be still trying to talk to Ruth.
If you stay out there and talk to her long enough, while they're going back, you can make me another intellect roll. We'll see what that looks like.
All right, that's a flat D20, right?
Yeah, you could just roll a flat d20, unless you have something that gives you training in persuasion or anything like that.
Hold on, let me double check my sheet. I don't think so. I know I can't sneak for crap. I'm good at risk and chance, but that's playing games and stuff. That's not. Let me see what this is. Let's see. I do have an action where I can automatically succeed on one task without rolling, as long as it's the difficulty is no higher than 6.
Ooh,
But I don't know if
what
that
does
applies.
what does that cost you?
It doesn't. I don't think. I think that was from. Hold on, I got the guide pulled up. I think that's from being scrappy.
Oh, I see, but it also incurs an intrusion. Interesting. Okay. By the way,
Hey, we get EXP
This-
for these. Oh,
yes,
maybe
and
not
that
for these.
exchange that just happened because you rolled a 1, I'm also going to classify that as a GM intrusion because that was not supposed to happen, right? So, since you chose to go back with him, you accepted the intrusion. I should have announced that's what it was. You will get 2 EXP from this, 1 for you and 1 to give to somebody else.
I'll give it to Tully since she's here. Then maybe she can
So I'm
pass
here
one.
helping.
Yeah, then maybe you can pass one to Sheriff. We'll share the load.
We'll play
And
merry-go-round with the
Mhm.
points.
Because of this intrusion, I'll say that this one won't be anything severe. You chatter up for just a little bit. You guys start to have casual conversation. You could tell she's tired. You wear her down a little bit. And as that happens, she'll look at you and she'll say, "Sweetie, I can slip you the key while Bill's not here, but here's the thing. I'd feel so much better if you just bring the sheriff up here and tell me that it's official business. If you could just do that, I got no choice but to let you right on up. You understand?
She's gonna groan because she's not one to push. She understands. She understands the position that Ruth is in here. Well, Ruthie, I reckon, but don't you expect me to be pulling you no favors in the future.
Oh, geez. The biggest favor you ever did me was making sure me and my baby made it. That's all I care about. Thank you so much again. And I'm real sorry about that. I get so scared. I don't want to lose this place. My family worked so hard to build it, you understand? It's the only thing we own
I,
in this whole place.
I know it, but you don't want to get
Whoa.
walked over by all these strange men either.
Sorry.
That's true. Us women do got to stick together in this atmosphere of men running everything, don't we?
Sometimes you just gotta tell them where the door is and not to let it hit them where the good Lord split them.
She'll chuckle a little bit. And as we as we fade from that conversation, Robert, you find yourself in a back room with Bill Connors. This room is also sort of generally candlelit. It's got a couple of oil lamps. And as he sits down, you still just have this incredibly uneasy feeling. It's something about his eyes don't look quite right to you.
I don't know that he would sit down, so I think Robert, like, as soon as they walked in and Robert closed the door, he would turn around with his 22 out, like, pointed at him. Like, as soon as they're in private and he can't be seen, he's gonna point it at him. He don't want to look at it. It just looks kind of blank, kind of level at him.
Okay. Bill looks at you for a second, and you hear this chuckle, and the chuckle becomes sort of deeper and bellows deeper and becomes more and more sinister.
I'm in danger.
It was high pitched at first, and by the end of it, it's more like a belly laugh, but it sounds almost like a cacophony of sounds coming from him. He says, "Now, son, you don't want to go do something foolish. Trust me. I simply came to talk."
I can make funny sounds there too, fella.
D-
What did you want to talk about?
He'll look you square in the eye. He looks a little agitated. But for now, he's still going to push the chair out behind the desk and sit without breaking eye contact with you. He wants to show that he still owns the room. He'll cross his legs underneath the table and he'll say, "Whether you know it or not, I have been keeping an eye on you for quite a minute. I pop in and out sometimes. I'm aware of most of the happenings in this town. And I understand you have great aspirations. Wouldn't your life be so much simpler if there was a way you could obtain the things you seek so dearly? Much more easily than the way you're going about it right now.
I am fairly confident in my abilities to reach my aspirations myself. Oh. For some time. How long, exactly?
He'll chuckle to himself a little bit and he'll say, "Well, time don't mean much to me, kid. But between you and I don't know. Look at a calendar. Months, at least."
Okay, so not as long as
I don't-
I was afraid.
He'll say, "I don't stay here for all my time, you know. I got business to attend to elsewhere, but I pop in from town to town, see who catches my eye, who might have something of interest to me, or who I might be able to give something of interest to."
Did you fix a woman's fiddle? I became Goldbrand there for a second.
He'll laugh. He'll say, "No, I'm not much in the business of fixing instruments, bud."
Is he lying to me?
He is not lying to you, but interestingly enough, you do see a fiddle propped up against the wall behind his desk.
Okay, it's not broke. Is this hole? It's not broke. Doesn't look like it's been stepped on.
It's not broken. Um, make me another intelligence roll so I can determine whether or not.
This is just a flat intellect roll, right?
Yeah.
7.
He notices you look and he says, "Oh, that old thing. I keep it with me in case I need it for a bartering chip. I heard about what happened to what's her name?" He sort of scratches his head for a minute. Opaline. Yeah. I got nothing to do with that.
Okay. So that's all this was. An offer. That's all you wanted to gain out of this meeting.
I feel that we could have mutual interests. I can give you things that might aid you in your endeavors beyond just your desires to acquire certain things. It wouldn't even cost you much.
That's kind of what I thought. Robert will put the 22 away. I'm working at the moment. Perhaps we can have a business discussion at a later time.
Offer won't last long, kid. I gotta skip town next couple days. You make your decision, you make it quick. And he'll look at you, and almost as if like producing it from nothing, he'll pull a small bone ring out and put it on the table. And he'll say, "It's just a start. I can take the things you're good at, and I can make you so much better. All you gotta do is pass me some information."
Information, I understand a little better. You want to know something for that there ring? What is it?
He'll look at you and say, "Well, if I had all the details, I don't think I'd be trying to cut a deal with you. Here's what I know. A man came into town. A woman had a broken fiddle. He offered to repair it. But I could see things that you all can't. Or maybe just choose not to. Something stirring. Something deep and dark. And it threatens all of us. It even threatens the likes of me, and that takes a lot of work, you understand, boy? I need to know what he messed with, and I need to know why it's angry."
Okay, so I like to think Robert goes from this very stiff, kind of, very on guard to not relaxed so much as like he looks weary as he realizes he's being assigned another case. The worst kind of cases him and sheriff can work together. When he kind of clicks in his head that something like that is going on, he unstiffens slightly and looks kind of tired. And he says, "That sounds like another Tuesday. I will do my best. And I apologize for the hostility earlier." I'm not sure he
He'll
means
laugh
that,
to
but he's going to
himself.
apologize anyway.
He'll laugh to himself a little bit and he'll say, "I know you thought you were a real threat. Maybe you could have been. Maybe after a little time, you keep honing that thing you got. You might become one. But for now, we're just having a conversation."
I'm just a guy doing my best, House. He's gonna turn and walk out because he's mildly uncomfortable.
Cool. You are now at least aware that Bill Connors is something else.
Yeah.
You don't know what. You don't know what he was offering you, but you feel he genuinely has the ability to either give you guys things that you desire, whether it be physical items, or give you guys enhancements to your already standing abilities in some way. You don't know what the cost would be. Just now he's asking for information.
Tully, I think we've overstayed our welcome here. Maybe we should, let's go get the sheriff. It's the only lawful
reckon
way
that's-
to enter that room.
I reckon that's what we gotta do.
All right. I'll take you back to this sort of flat map. You guys head back to the sheriff's office, and you can relay as much or as little as you want.
Tully would give the sheriff the full rundown. She ain't got nothing secretive. Just
As Tully walks
that little
in,
heart ain't gonna give us nothing without you there.
the sheriff and the deputy are in the corner playing cards. The sheriff says, "You got any nines?" He's like, "Go fish, sheriff." He's like, "Damn it, Donnie, I know you're hanging on to those nines." And he looks up at Tully. He's like, "Do what now?" The whole point of me sending y'all was that so I didn't have to be there.
And Tully's gonna shake her hands and in frustration be like, that old tart ain't giving us nothing without you there. You sent us to do the sheriff's work, and we don't have the sheriff's authority, okay?
Whole time,
Throws down the cards on
this whole time,
throws the
Robert's
cards down the table.
standing behind the sheriff's desk, drafting a warrant.
No, that won't be necessary, Robert. All right, let's go. Sheriff heads to the door and grabs his hat.
Robert drafts it anyway, but he's gonna put it in his pocket. Gonna put it in his little briefcase or something.
Kind
All right.
of struts across the street to the inn and goes straight up to the reception desk.
Back to the boarding house we go. I'm not going to delete the token, but for the moment being, Bill is not behind the counter. It is just Ruth. She looks at you and says, "Oh, Sheriff, I didn't expect you back so soon, but sounds like you got the message right away." And she just doesn't even hesitate. She just slides the key onto the counter and says, "Official police business, right?"
Oh, absolutely. And Ruth, dear, if you don't mind, just try to keep this close to your chest, if at all possible.
Sort of taps her nose and points at you.
He points back at her and goes straight back out the door.
Robert to Tully, now you see why he's the good cop.
So if you guys head up, are you gonna head up towards the room now?
I think so. I think that's the best. Like, if we're trying to figure some stuff out about this dude, I think we need to try to get in there and see if there's anything sus, if he's in there. I guess we could
That's
do
our
but-
lead, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You
I'm gonna
You
cover the
head-
sheriff like James Bond.
you head up the stairs. You follow the directions she gave. You go 1, 2, 3 doors down.
Three doors down.
Didn't mean to do that, but anyway, they don't exist here. They're actually called Three Fiddles Brown in this world.
Three Fiddles, stop. I need all their songs
they,
fucking countrified now.
3 doors down yonder.
And it's like a "if I go crazy now will." Anyway, you go to Jimmy the door, and before you even open it, there's something coming out from underneath the door that just is not. It smells like fruit. As you take the key and you unlock the door. As you do, you see a man sitting on the floor at the end of the bed. He's not even sitting. He is laid down, curled up in the fetal position. And he stinks. This man smells like you're not certain if he's alive or dead. But you know he's laying there, and you see just the smallest bits of shaking. He does not even seem aware that somebody opened the door.
You got does sheriff have a rifle or a shotgun? Can you like poke him with the butt of it? Like hold the barrel in your hand like a big stick? Poke.
Could do that if
I don't
you
remember if
want.
I actually went up with you guys.
I assumed you did.
Yeah.
You got
Alright.
the key.
Oh, you got
Nah,
the key.
I just got my pistol, so
Okay. My Robert's pistol is out. He's gonna.
Yep.
He's not gonna point it at him. He's not a soldier, but he's gonna keep it pointed at the floor, like.
same
Hey,
thing. Yeah.
Hey, feller.
Jeff will have his pistol out and creak the door open slowly.
Hey, feller, can you hear us?
At the sound of your voice, he cuts his head real hard at the door, looks at you. His eyes get huge, and he's like digging his heels into the floor, still holding his stomach, trying to find the wall to his back. And he's not screaming because he barely seems to have a voice. But you think that if he could be yelling at you, he would be. And he says, "Oh my God, you real? What? Somebody actually in my room. What is going on? I'm so tired of this. Please, please make it end. It hurts so much."
Well, what seems to be ailing you? What's hurting?
Everything. I got chills. My body, it feels like I'm being burned alive from the inside out.
How long have you been sick?
3 days, mister. 3 days. Can barely walk.
Would I mean, I would assume I've just got my briefcase everywhere, especially since I was on duty, my little doctor's case. I guess I could offer him. Shit, would we have morphine back then? I guess that would be our painkiller choice, some ether.
Definitely have something in there that could ease him up a little bit if you wanted to calm down, loosen his lips. I'd definitely like to do that. I won't even make him make any kind of check or anything for that. You give him something. It's some sort of concoction. I'll even say it's probably not necessarily straight up morphine. It's more like something that you have crafted from.
I was gonna say I've got herbalism and stuff. As a midwife, I would probably have like arnica and
Still
all
probably
those, like,
probably mostly opiate at this time before they knew how bad it was.
yeah.
It's a tincture of something that you definitely know you smashed together in like a mortal pestle over time and just sort of pulled the juices out of. And it seems to calm him down a little bit. But as he does calm down and sort of unclench, you see his body relax and you realize his skin is ashen. It's pale. He looks like he has not eaten or drank anything in 3 days. At this point, you can see like all the muscles in his body somehow are both tense and relaxed at the same time. It's almost like he's entering the early stages of rigor mortis, but he's still somehow walking around. That's how this man looks right now.
Now that's all I can do for him. I reckon the doctor will have to have a swig at him.
Is your name
If he
Yuan,
needs some help.
perhaps? What's your name there, feller?
Name's Pollard. Pollard Bales.
What you do for a living?
Sheriff will jot all this down in a notebook he carries around.
I travel all up and down the rails, all up and down the mountains, business all types, mostly selling odds and ends, bobs and bits to people who need them. Sometimes I can pick up a side gig, pretty good at fixing what's broke, carpentry a little bit.
You fixed a woman's fiddle a few days ago? Oh, no, so it hadn't given it back yet, right? So, do I see the fiddle? That's the first thing he would do. Does he see the fiddle in the room?
You don't. He'll look at you and he'll say, "Yeah, fix that fiddle. It seems so important to her. I wanted to do it as a kindness, stir, and good faith in this town. I don't travel here very often. I fixed it right up, dropped it off at the general store like I told her I would."
Yeah, gone about fixing anything else lately?
You realize as he's saying that, there's at least a slight inconsistency in his story. He claims that he hasn't been able to move in almost 3 days, but somehow
That's how he fixed it.
the fiddle's at the general store right now.
I was thinking about that myself.
I do agree with Sheriff's question, if he's fixed anything else.
I just got into town 3 or 4 days ago. I haven't had time to do much else. Overheard a conversation, thought I'd be helpful. That's it.
You still won't be put out of your misery. He vaguely waves the pistol.
You see the panic rise back up in him. He's like, I ain't think I'm dead yet. I'm feeling a bit better
There's
than I
only so
was
much I can
15
cover up,
minutes ago.
Go ahead, Sheriff.
I said, there's only so much I can cover up, Robert.
He did ask for it. You heard it. No, I'm just pulling the gentleman's leg. So, oh man. It seems to me, Sheriff, we just have a sick traveler here. Can we take you to the doctor there, fella?
I would say at this point in the evening, you might be able to get the doctor, but it's gotten pretty late. Between you guys going and having a conversation at the sheriff's office, you peruse in town trying to figure out who you should talk to figure out where this guy's at, and back, I'd say you're entering like late evening. It's probably 9-10 o'clock.
Maybe we can see if Mama Odessa's up.
He'll at least look at you and say, whatever that did, it at least helps some. I can probably make it at least till the morning when I assume the doctor's office opens up. You wouldn't happen to have any food or water on you, would you? I can barely move.
I feel like Talitha would. That's just something that she would keep, some like a jar of water and some sort of snacks. Pregnant ladies got needs.
I got some corn liquor.
They're rough. You can't.
I
get
do.
them that way.
Yeah, I do
Hey,
have
he
rations
sees-
for 3 days, so I would not mind giving him a ration.
He sees the shine jar and he forgets about the water. He's like, hey, now, I think I know what that looks like. You mind if I just take a look? And he starts reaching for it without even finishing his sentence.
Sheriff,
Sheriff
that's gonna dehydrate him.
Holds the flask close to his chest. He's like, yeah.
Okay, water it is. He takes a little bit of his chest? Like, are you
No, my
giving it
chest.
to him, or are you holding
I'm
it
like,
to you? Okay.
old timer.
Okay. He'll
I'm
take
holding
the
it.
little
Wait,
bit of
old
water.
timer.
He'll take the bit of rations. And he will lightly start to eat. He'll take a little bit of water and drink it. And you see a little bit of color return to him if you sit there long enough. And he'll look at you guys and he'll say, I am mighty obliged. I don't even know how you found me, but that young girl whose fiddle I fixed told me to come out and check out the show tomorrow. If you wouldn't mind, I would love to get some rest. I promise, heart to God, I'll go to the doctor tomorrow morning. And I would like to, if you guys have any more questions or want to talk, I'll make sure I'm at the dance tomorrow night.
Leave him.
You do.
Press
Yeah.
Y to doubt.
I'm not even going to make you roll for that. You believe him. He seems pretty genuine that he plans on being at the dance tomorrow night.
Might as well let the old man get some rest.
Apologies for the interruption.
Don't apologize to me. You might well have saved my life.
Robert's not going to respond. He will if as they're leaving. He wants to give the sheriff a meaningful look.
Okay.
So then, just to maybe,
Thank you for your thoughts, Robert.
yeah. So once they're out of earshot, once they're out of the building, Connors is still gone when we go through.
Yeah, he's not there. Although you notice the office that you walked into, the door is slightly cracked, as if it's a little bit inviting, and you see just like a little bit of lamp flicker, like a shadow being cast across the door frame, but you don't actually see him, at least not from where you're at.
Robert's
Do I
gonna
hear anything?
Yeah, can you hear anything?
Oh, can you hear anything?
Yeah, that's what he was at.
I'd let you make a roll. I think that you have something that it gives you training in
Ben is trained.
seeing and hearing things.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you make a roll.
Oh,
Well,
it
it says it's
didn't-
trained.
That was interesting.
That is weird.
You can just roll me a d20 if that doesn't work, and we'll figure out what it
That's
means
what
from
I was
here.
gonna do. Yeah, but I got equipment individually.
Okay. With a 10, I'm gonna say you don't really hear much. You might hear like the little bit of the sound that a candle makes, and like it's sort of flickering a little bit on a wick when everything's real quiet. You might hear just the slightest sounds of a candle burning or the oil from a lamp burning up. You don't hear much else beyond that.
Oh. Hold on a second, y'all. If y'all could come with me for a moment, I would appreciate it. He's gonna lead them in there and try to take them both in there with him. I don't know how Miss Ruth's gonna respond to that, but he's gonna take them both in there. He's gonna.
Ruth would not stop you. I mean, Bill invited
Okay.
you in the office earlier. If he's still in there, she don't care.
Yeah, he's gonna go in there. Assuming Bill's sitting in there, and he may not even close the door, but when he walks in with them, he's gonna turn back and look at them both and say, "Mr. Connors here was looking for some information." Then he'll turn and tell him he'll recount everything to Bill that they just witnessed. Because unfortunately, Devin's brain is slipping on the exact criteria of information that he wanted. But we're going to see. That's maybe sort of like if that's not what he's looking for, he's trying to show that he is willing to work with him. So he's going to give him an update.
Okay. He'll look at you sternly for a second, and he'll say, I didn't expect you to come back so soon. I'm not sad about it. It's a sign of good faith, to say the least. Interesting that you met a man who fixed a fiddle. Said it ain't done nothing wrong. Seems like the fiddle's fine. Maybe I got bad information. Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe He'll sort of pause for a second and he'll say, no, I'm not wrong about much. Maybe he didn't know what he was getting into. Maybe somebody else helped. Either way, it's a good lead and a good start. And I appreciate you coming back with the update. You see again that weird sort of uncomfortable grin. He seems very satisfied with the fact that you came back to give him any kind of update at all.
I would interject and be like, now he's real sicky here, so you guys better watch out and make sure you clean that hotel room up real good like.
Oh, of course. Don't let anybody in there before we sanitize the place thoroughly. Once he is removed.
Removed, you say?
Yeah, Devin or Robert doesn't like that. Is the ring still sitting on the table?
It is. And this time, he looks at you. The ring's still sitting there. He has it removed. Dean, did you go in?
Yeah, I want to know with him.
Cool. This time he'll look at you for a second. And he'll say, oh boy, you're carrying something. That is mighty fascinating. I think me and Robert are gonna be good friends. I gotta take care of friends, you see. He'll say, same deal that's open to him's open to you, boy. And he puts his hand down on the desk and he flicks his thumb to the right. And when he does, you're not certain if it's a trick of the light, but it seems like a revolver materializes that was not there before. And he pulls his finger out of the guard and he sits back in his chair comfortably and just locks eyes with Dean for as if to say, could be yours for the right price.
What's the catch? Dean says as he picks it up and pops the chamber over and spins it, inspects the weapon.
Ooh, make me an intellect defense roll.
See, how am I doing that?
Chuckles. I'm in danger.
I think you have something on your sheet. Let me look at this really quick because I think you have something that gives you +2 to whatever value.
Yeah, I
you
got
roll.
+2.
So you can roll a flat d20 and just we know it's a +2, or you could try to roll it from your sheet, whatever you prefer.
See what that looks like. Yeah, whatever. I'm gonna do a 20. Ah, 4. God.
You pop the cylinder open. As you do, you don't notice it happen at first. But as you look down, you feel the smallest amount of pain on your thumb, and you realized that something between the body and the cylinder of this revolver has pricked your thumb, and a drop of blood falls into one of the cylinders.
Hmm.
And the man leans back and chuckles a little bit, and he says, "That one's hungry. And it seems to like you quite a bit."
Sheriff, that's what you get for picking up strange guns.
I guess she's not wrong.
Would you believe me? Would you believe me if I picked up Stranger?
I know all what you picked up in this town, and yeah, you know, you right.
As you guys are talking amongst yourselves, he'll interject because you asked what it will cost. And he'll say, "A good businessman never shows all his cards up front, now does he? I'm going to give you the same offer I gave your buddy Robert Wells there. Little information to start. Maybe there's a trade-off to what you get. But I promise it won't cost you way too much."
I reckon I don't see the harm.
Okay. If you pick it up and you take it and go to put it in your holster, I will send you some information here in just a bit as to what it is, what it does. But I can tell you that even as soon as you vocally claim ownership, you feel a weird power overcome your body, and you feel slightly uncomfortable. There is, and this is not above table. This is a conversation that only is happening between me and Sheriff Dean right now. You feel the shadows that are around you grow, and they feel powerful but uncomfortable. You've known that something's there because you have dealt with things in the shadows before in the past. And for just the briefest moment, you feel yourself lose control of them, as if they're going to separate themselves from you, become sentient before they snap back. You holster the weapon, and you can take it with you if you want.
That was odd. But nonetheless, yeah, it's going in the holster.
Robert will walk over. Robert will walk over and look down at the ring. You said something big was being stirred up. This ring will help me stop that.
It's bigger than me, I can tell you that. And he'll let you know that he'll say, as with anything that I offer, it's not necessarily going to round you out. I think it'll take the things you're already good at and give you a little extra nudge, give you a little extra power, make you do something you couldn't do before.
Fuck it. I'll pick up the ring.
Okay.
I'll follow Sheriff's lead, I guess.
You put it on, and as you do, you have to, it feels a little bit loose. You have to rotate it as you put it on your finger, and as you do, it becomes...
Ooh, sorry. I don't mean to keep hitting that shit.
You're fine. It becomes more and more and more snug as it feels like the bone starts to adhere to your finger. And in the last turn that you turn on it, something strange happens to you. At first, it sounds like a whisper, and then it becomes kind of clear. And you realize that in this moment, you are reading the surface level thoughts of your two companions in this room.
Oh, God. Imagine it takes him however long it takes him to learn how to kind of wall that off so he can't hear everywhere he goes. If he can at all. We'll find out.
It does only last for a short amount of time, but it is something that you can use at will. I'll send you the information on this.
Yeah, he like twisted to activate it kind of thing. Yeah, okay.
And then as it happens, you realize that there's a secondary effect. And you look at the man's face who's standing in front of you, the man that is sitting in front of you, the man that is Bill Connors. And what you thought you saw in his eyes, you now know is there. And you can see his whole face, and his whole form, and his whole figure. While he looks like a man, he also looks like a man wearing a suit of a man. And you know for a fact, whatever this is ain't human. At least not any kind of human you ever seen before.
I can't believe the microphone can't hear me going. Okay. Well, okay. I have one more thing I want to try when we leave, but I'll wait for us to wrap up business.
Okay. Is there... You guys will have to make some rolls here in a few minutes. I'm going to send you both what these items do. And then he'll look at you, Tully, for just a second, and he smirks real big. He says, "Your friends didn't ask too many questions about the cost. Anything you want?"
I ain't an idiot. I ain't gonna take nothing with no cost. I don't owe a damn thing to no man.
I like your spunk, girl. And keep that good head on your shoulders. And with that, he'll look at you and say, "You got what you want. Payment comes due when it comes due." He'll do his hand like that, shooing you out of his office.
Okay, let's try this. I'm gonna blow some more resource points because I'm curious. Once the other two have left, Robert wants to turn back and look at him, and he's going to lock eyes with him. And the shadow, I think this is a 10-foot cube, so pretty much all the shadows on the walls behind him start to writhe and kind of wiggle, and he makes them look almost like he has. Yeah, that's the best. Writhes, all of them. That's the best way I have it. They all kind of wiggle and squirm. He wants it to look very chaotic, and he's going to use this terrifying presence ability here. And I can use. You said I can only use one at level 1. You can only use one thing of effort. I am going to use some effort. Oh man, it's a lot of ability points. I'm not going to use any effort. So we're going to see here. He's going to tell him while he's doing this. Here, I need to put this whole thing in here where you can see it, huh? Why didn't it put the whole... Oh, it did put the whole thing in there.
I can see it in there.
Okay. He's going to tell him, "Look, I ain't opposed to a beneficial agreement. I ain't opposed to payment as long as it's equivocal. But you hurt them too, or anybody else in my town, there will be problems."
You look at him, and he seems like he's stationary, like he's paralyzed. His eyes are really wide for a second. And then you see that grin that you hate so much. And he raises a hand, it snaps.
Yeah.
And he turns into nothing and disappears from the room. And as he does, you hear a lingering chuckle.
Okay.
You know he'll be back.
Yeah.
You don't know when or where.
Okay. He's, scarier than I am at the moment, which is what I wanted to know. All right, well, Robert will
With
leave.
that,
Well,
I think it's about normal break time.
Yes, sir.
I need to use the bathroom, so we
Same.
can take a quick little break. I think about 10 minutes, and then we'll pop back in here and see how far we get.
Here we go.
Right.
All right, welcome back. Everybody's still alive. Nothing crazy's happened so far. Well, I guess it depends on how you qualify crazy. Some people made some bold choices. We'll see what the consequences of those choices are later. For now, it is late in the evening. Our group has investigated very lightly the person who has repaired this fiddle, got some information, and they've also unraveled a little bit of mystery around the man that is named Bill Connors and what he's about. We don't know a ton more than that. What we do know is that Robert has a meeting he was supposed to be scooting to, and in that same vein, um, I think all of you might know a man who knows a little about haints and spooky things and monsters than you all do on the surface. It just so happens all that takes place in the same location, if you want to go.
All know someone?
I think you do. At least you would have met him a time or two. It's the man who runs the speakeasy.
Hmm. Okay. Oh man. Um, if Robert is
Yeah,
hours
I can
late,
definitely use a drink. I'm getting the shakes.
if Robert is hours late for his appointment, man, it kills Devin that he can't call and be like, "I'm so sorry, I missed you." So I guess he will just tell her the next time he sees her. Oh wow.
Send a carrier pigeon.
He will stick his
All
head
right.
in at the location on the way by. If she's not there, he'll get to her next time, if that's possible. If it's way out of his way, he'll just forget about it. He'll just tell her next time he sees her.
Okay. I don't think she'll be too pissed. Maybe. All right. Are you guys all going together? You do have the option to just go home if you don't want to all go. It's up to you. You guys can play however you want.
I just assume that Robert goes whenever. Robert doesn't go to the speakeasy unless Sheriff is going, and then he goes. He's like Devin. He's a social drinker. And
Okay.
not a social drinker.
And we all know that Tully goes wherever the sheriff goes for some weird reason. To the speakeasy.
We all know that the speakeasy's owner's wife has a drinking problem and is pregnant, so I gotta take care of that.
Away.
Oh my.
You guys make it to the speakeasy, and as you do, your friend is patiently sitting on the couch. She's been waiting for quite a while. You're about an hour late. She's maybe had a drink or two. She's not too mad, but you can see her legs across and her foot's kind of kicking the air a little bit. You could tell she's getting just slightly agitated.
Okay.
On the other side of the bar is a man that most of you have at least met a time or two. His name is also Robert, so that's not confusing at all.
He is now Bob. At least
Yeah.
to my Robert, he's now Bob.
Hey, I tell you what, we'll cut a deal. We can call him Bobby.
Okay.
Bobby.
Dang it, Bobby!
He is behind the counter and he sees y'all walk in, and it's like greeting some friends at the door. It's pretty excited to see y'all. I assume that Robert is gonna head towards the couch, go sit beside his friend.
Oh yeah. Is her drink empty?
It is freshly empty. Yeah, you actually when
Okay.
you walked in, you saw her rattling the ice around a little bit.
Yeah. Robert will get himself a drink, scotch on the rocks, and he'll get her a drink, whatever he normally would get her, and then he will go over there, and he will put the drink down next to her empty glass, and he will take out a cigarette, not a pack, but he'll take a cigarette out of a pack he carries around. If you were paying attention, he doesn't smoke cigarettes. He'll offer her one. I apologize for my lateness. Sheriff had me working late. You know how that can be sometimes. Not a great excuse, but I owe you one. He'll sit down next to me.
She glares at you for a second and then glares at the sheriff. She says, "Well, it typically is all his fault, I guess, so I think we can maybe let it slide this one time. You better not stand me up again. I was getting close going home."
Entirely my fault. Man. I will endeavor to do better in the future.
She takes a cigarette from your hand and looks at you expectantly.
He will light it because he knows the drill. Is this what not big, but lighters back then would have been matches or Zippos?
I'm gonna say
That seems like a
because
Zippo.
I much prefer Zippos that you're gonna have a Zippo.
I'll look it up
You
here in
know,
a
like
minute.
the old metal
How
flip
old?
top style. Again, it's an alternate reality version of Appalachia. You guys can have some fancy stuff. I mean, somebody just picked up a shadow gun and a bone ring. I don't know, man. There's probably Zippos.
If you really care, they were made in 1933.
Oh man, they're just a year early. The railroad brought them to Stonega, Virginia early. I don't know how.
I was about to say he's got a prototype. He's got one of the first ones. The first flicker, it makes this massive flame, and then the second one, it's much more manageable. He'll light her cigarette to say, I have had an interesting day, but I'm would like a moment to collect my thoughts. And I would like to think, so I didn't narrate this earlier, that he walks over there, and maybe for assuming anyone that can notice, the first time they have probably seen Robert look a little shaken, or at least tense. Usually very easygoing and confident, and when he goes over there, he's kind of booking it. Very stiff in the spine, and he'll say, I'd like a moment to collect my thoughts. I'm, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm very excited to hear anything you've learned in the last, since we met. And to be honest, I never decided what he traditionally pays her for all this information that he, more or less maintains this relationship for. But we'll clear that out.
Well, tonight I think you paid her in a drink and a cigarette. That's probably payment enough. She's probably had a couple. She's not really so much worried about the money. At least not at this time. And she'll look at you. She'll say, "Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't rightfully know who owns the place. I've been asking so many questions, trying to figure out everything. I went down to, the back room of the sheriff's office where they keep a lot of the records and stuff. And she looks over at the sheriff. She says, "Don't tell him. I don't think I was supposed to be in there." She says, "And honestly, there ain't no name on no deeds or nothing. I don't know what the deal is with that place. But best I could tell, you'd assume like the railroad or the mining company, somebody'd own it. It seems to me like rightfully nobody owns it. Maybe the town does? Does that even make sense?"
I have a skill in law, being a lawyer. Does Robert have any conclusions to draw, from that perspective of like, can the town own it?
I would say
I
in this
also do.
setting, yes. If there's nobody, like there's no deed, there's no name on any kind of like piece of paper claiming ownership of the property, that it's more likely that the town itself probably owns it. But then that gets into the semantics of, well, if the mining company built the town, how much of the town does the mining company own by default? And that starts to string a few like random thoughts in your brain around like, okay, I have to go to figure out like the semantics of law behind if nobody outright owns this, because there are
Get it
deeds to a
into
lot of
a
the other
name.
buildings in the town, and the mining company owns a lot of them. Things that the mining company doesn't outright own seem to be like the boss's houses, like the people who are the foremen in the mines and stuff like that. As part of the deal with being higher up in the company, they actually have their names on the deeds for those buildings.
Okay. This is sort of
otherwise-
world building question. Does the whole town use scrim? Is Robert paid in scrim, or is it both?
I would say yes, the whole town probably uses it. I mean, it's a common currency.
For those of you watching, I may have used the wrong vocabulary word. It's like the currency that the mining companies handed out. We don't use American dollars. We use this currency that the mining company creates. It's all kinds of messed up. Maybe you'll see.
I can't remember what it's called, honestly. That
Isn't it
sounds
scrim?
terrible. I should know that. I think it is scrim. I'm trying to find it real quick, but
Anyway, he'll thank her. He'll say, I appreciate what you tried to find. Any information is good information. And he'll sit and think about it for a second, like, because he usually wants to trade her.
and she'll shrug and she'll say, she's like, "I ain't no lawyer like you are, but the way I see it, nobody owns it. I mean, surely somebody can just, I don't know, claim it. Is that how it works?" And she'll sort of like, her head starts to spin a little bit as she's like thinking through that. that she's probably out of her depth and just throwing a bunch of crap at a board.
I think it's likely that there will have to be a majority vote of some kind from somewhere. No, I appreciate it. And he'll say, he will tell her, because I feel, I guess he assumes she's looking for like juicy gossip to tell her friends, since that's kind of her thing. He'll give her the story of the sick man that they found in the hotel room, and he'll make sure to dress it up / edit it enough to make it sound like they weren't doing anything shady or going against the law or anything like that. But he'll know, he'll give her that and like kind of dress it up as this intense little story.
She'll chuckle, and then she'll you know what, I'm gonna do it. She'll put her hand on like your kneecap while she's listening to you intently and laughing, and she'll say, "Oh my goodness, Obline's never going. The man who fixed her fiddle was sick. Do you think that what he had's contagious? Do you think it could be on the fiddle?"
Say that to Devin. Don't say that to Robert either. It sounds like you're being a little silly there. I don't think so. She hasn't picked up the fiddle yet, and on the bright side, if she does get sick, it'll be after the concert.
That made me laugh. So that's so cold of you, Robert, but I guess at least we'll get a good show out of it. All right. Well, thanks for the enthralling tale. Ooh, snap. I don't know how to make you make a roll for this, or if I should. I think she notices the ring. And I'm assuming you didn't put it on your wedding hand.
No. Thumb ring?
Yeah, sure, why not? Or like a pinky ring. She'll say, "Oh my goodness, where'd you get something like that? That looks mighty nice."
Sorry, Devin looking over, realizing he doesn't have, he's not trained in deception. I traded some work for it. Mighty neat looking, isn't it?
It sure is. You know how much I love natural things. It's pretty cool, made out of a bone. Looks like that's nifty. That's pretty cool. I didn't see you as much of a fashion man outside of your suits and your hats, but seems like you're picking something forward right there.
Suit and hat singular. At this time period, just the one. I try not to complain when I have to do work on trade instead of money. Take what I can get.
Cool.
I tell you what, you can have 3 dances tomorrow at the least, but I do need to get back over here to the sheriff. Finishing up work, you understand.
About that time, even in the short conversation you've had, you took her drink and she's absolutely hammered it. Finished her cigarette. She slams the thing down on the table and says, "Fine by me. I'm getting sleepy anyway. It's probably about time I mosey on home." She tries to stand up, looks a little uneasy. She's like, "Might be more like stumbling, but I'll take care of myself. You have a good night now, Robert. You hear?" She'll get up and clop, 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 clop out the door.
Okay. Part of me likes to think Robert hands her A, his revolver, and B, his key on her way out, but that's like 50-50. I would ought to even that.
You could definitely, you know what, if you want to leave it up to chance, you can roll me a d20. If it's even, you give her the key to your home above your office. If it's odd, you don't. I'm not going to let you give her the revolver. Who knows what kind of trouble she'll get into. Maybe she'll be alright.
Guess Robert thinks better of it.
Cool. And the other two of you have probably been sitting at the bar chatting up Bobby a little bit. Now Robert has joined you guys as well. You can definitely ask him some questions about the happenings.
I like to think Robert goes over there as they're asking questions. I'm sure y'all got something for him. Or partway through asking questions, probably. Yins are on
The biggest thing is, Dean definitely knows that he's he's a good contact and resource, so I'd assume you'd be asking him some stuff about the things you guys found today.
I'd say like Dean would be halfway through explaining to Bobby about finding a man who's been rapidly aged and if he's heard anything about anything like that. You know what I mean?
Bobby would look at you for a second, and he's also drinking himself a nice, neat scotch on the other side of the bar, because this time, who cares if the bartender's drinking or not? He'll put it down the bar, he'll look at you kind of longingly for a second, he'll say, "You said, aged rapidly. How so? You need to explain a little more to me, boy."
Well, a couple days ago, Drifter came through. And by the time we found him, he was decrepit. This man was about ancient. And he don't rightly know how he got that way. But we suspect it's the devil's work at play.
I ain't gonna lie to you, I ain't much heard a ton about things that do stuff like that. At least not around these parts, you know. Typically we deal with spooky things, monsters, people without souls, and weird looking dogs, shadows and stuff like that, you know. Things that make people old. Well, between you and me, that's gotta be some deep magics. Definitely ain't nothing common. Nobody walking around here is gonna be doing it like that, at least. God, I hope not.
I was afraid of that. Seems to be sucking the very life out of him. And nothing topside really seems to have that ability.
Well, they might be one thing. Sheriff, I'm sure you noticed that Mr. Connors don't seem to be everything he's made himself out to be in the past. You know anything about that assistant over there, Bobby?
He'll say, he'll describe Bill Connors, and it sounds like who you saw, but a little bit different. Like you notice as he's describing Bill that there's slight discrepancies in what he's describing and what you saw.
I think I feel okay saying this with the bartender, with Bobby there, but he'll kind of look over at Sheriff and say, we might have some reason to believe that Bill Connors is no longer Bill Connors.
And at that, Bobby's ears perk up a little bit. He looks at all three of you and he says, "Well, they seem dead behind the eyes, or what kind of situation was it in that room?"
I would say Robert got the best look.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide. Do you think the bartender would know that Robert is a practitioner? I know that's a little bit of a loose term for him since his ability is very powerful at this time. But
he knows a lot of things. So yeah, I would say that he probably at least recognizes that you have he knows who you are, like as a day profession, but he also recognizes you have a gift of some sort.
Okay. Robert would say, it kind of strikes that he's much more adept than I am or have ever been. The only thing I have seen recently that might actually be able to throw around any heavy juice, as you said.
Squint for a second. Say, I mean, how'd the conversation go? Was it cordial? Did he display anything that might be of interest? I'm just trying to get a beat on what it is he would deal with.
Robert would tell him that he made himself disappear, but he's not going to actually tell him that they traded items or anything like that.
I'll also say that because of when you put the ring on, you got a look at his figure, like the man behind the man.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if you gave a little bit of that description.
Oh, well, okay. He seemed to be something, a man, but not. And then there was almost like not his shadow, but something underneath him, and he'll describe that shape.
You see Bobby's eyes get a little bit big, and he'll say, "Have a shit-eating grin on his face. Did he laugh a lot?
All the goddamn time.
Hmm.
Oh, like you wouldn't believe.
That ain't good, boy. That ain't good at all. And he'll sort of look down like he's pondering real hard. And he'll look back at you and say, "Did you feel anything leave you while you were in there?"
No. No.
And you say, "Good, so..."
Certainly felt something, but I couldn't rightly tell.
So you didn't strike a deal with it.
Another scotch,
Maybe
please, Bobby.
hypothetically, if we did,
Just
just
order another drink.
purely out of curiosity,
He'll look
that'd
at
be
you.
bad, right?
His eyes get really big, and he'll say, "Hypothetically, you big idiot. You understand your father, told me I gotta keep you safe, boy. That is stupid. You're an idiot. You know what you're dealing with? It sounds like, based on your description, that ain't no regular man. That's a crossroads man. Now, normally he takes souls when he gives gifts away. But if you ain't had nothing missing, maybe he was feeling generous. Maybe he has something else in mind for you later. I don't know. But, that's plumb stupid."
I just gotta tell you, Bobby. I mean, I know it wasn't rightly the smartest thing, but there's no way this man could have had the gun that he had. There's a little bit of a history I have with it.
You gonna show him the gun?
Oh, absolutely.
Caliber is it for Devin's little gun nerdy heart?
Well, hold on. It looks like a standard Colt revolver, but like weird. A little
Thought
bit
you were
different.
getting a gun out for a second to show us. I was very startled.
I pulled the revolver that I was describing out from underneath my desk. No, it looks like a pretty standard Colt revolver. I would say that it's caliber should this be? I'm gonna say it's a 38.
Thick.
You show him the gun. He says, "So you made a deal with a thing for this? Why was it worth it? Explain to me how he couldn't have had it. And use all your words."
Well.
Rude.
Because I left this gun under the German soldier I killed in a trench in France. Somehow, I ended up back here.
And that's not even a little bit suspicious to you? Are you stupid?
Oh, it's entirely suspicious. But it's here for a reason.
And you know this is the same gun?
Oh, without a doubt.
Oh my.
I'd say like I kind of like show it to him, and it's got like this specific kind of like mother of pearl inlay handle, you know.
Oh, I see. I see. Something that would be very rare and
Very,
unique
very, very
at the
distinct.
time. I see. Is it dirty and smudged and stuff? Like.
Oh God, yeah.
Okay.
We're not going to talk about the blood. And you see him like taking notes in his notebook. He pulled out a journal furiously, his journal, about like what you guys are talking about, what it is you think that you saw, what it is that happened. And he'll tell you outright, like, "I ain't never crossed one before. I can't tell you for certain that that's even what it was, but ain't much around here just throwing away gifts, that kind of power, and that kind of juju. Doing stuff like not being afraid of the junk you can do, disappeared into thin air. That's not stuff I want to trifle with."
It's rightly spooky. That's for sure.
Regardless, we've done what damage we can do. We need to focus on this feller there that's been sick, I think. Make sure he ain't up to no trouble tomorrow night. Be honest, be surprised if we see him. Actually, you said that I believed him earlier, so keeping an eye on him might be wise.
And Bobby will also let you know that he's going to be there at the sheriff's behoovement selling sarsaparilla in the back corner of the dance hall tomorrow night.
What the fuck is sarsaparilla?
At sunset, maybe.
Old timey sodas.
It's yummy.
It's yummy, they say. Tropical
Yeah,
plant
sunset
soft drink.
sarsaparilla. That's definitely what it is. Don't sue us, Bethesda. It was a joke. But yeah, he lets you know that he'll be there to be an extra set of eyes in the area in case anything pops off.
Sort of like root beer.
Mm-hmm.
It's very yummy. You can get it at Huck's if you ever want to go downtown.
Yeah, it's just made of specific roots.
Heard. Anyway, carry on. Learn something every day.
And, unless anybody else has any questions or information they want to pull out of old Bobby, then you guys can head to bed or do whatever you want for the remainder of the night, but it is getting real.
Yeah. I limit it to about one ass chewing from Bobby a day.
Same. Also, I love fucking... I love it. I like it.
He shakes his head after seeing you guys like with the stuff and like knowing you made a deal. He stops pouring himself glasses and just pulls the bottle off the shelf and sets it down on the counter. He's like, "You all probably need to go home and get some sleep. I'm gonna shut this place down and find a way to get me some sleep later."
Okay. Robert does want to stay late. He wants to stay late enough to be able to have a private conversation with Bobby. Okay. Anyone else that has anything to do is welcome to do that too. We're just gonna ask a real quick question.
All right. I would say if everybody else goes home or does whatever you would normally do, quote, long
Go to my
rest.
little Baba Yaga hut in the woods.
Yeah. Return to the department.
Man, I forgot. I even made his hair red. I'm so proud of that. Anyway, you guys get your long rest. Any points you spent today, any abilities you spent today, anything else you got go and get back.
Oh,
and
the Lord.
We'll let Robert talk to Robert.
Yeah. So before he leaves that night, he wants to. He probably won't keep drinking. He probably stops after 2 and just orders water after that, regardless of how long he has to wait. And he said he'll ask Bobby when he comes back. After he realizes he's been hanging around, he'll say, that thing that we were talking to today. It said the sheriff was carrying something around. And I have reason to believe it's entirely correct. Anything that you could guess about that?
He'll look at you real long for a minute. He'll say, "That stupid boy. His daddy told me to take care of him. I might as well be his daddy. And I'm going to tell you right now, if that's his business, it's his business. Now, he's been through a lot. He's seen some things. His family's got a history. You understand? But I don't feel like it's my place to go off talking about things like this without him around. You want to know more about it? I'll tell you something's there. You go ask him yourself, man to man."
Maybe I'll do that. Appreciate it. He'll leave. Go home. Do his thing.
All right, everybody get all your points back. Baba Yaga hut, blah, 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 all the fun stuff. And that's it for the night. You get all your points back. Nothing particularly crazy happens. It will remind you that some XP, I don't know where you marked that, but it sounds like you round robined it a little bit.
Oh, yeah, so...
Tully actually got 2, I think.
Yes, I got 1. Tully got 2, and she gets to give 1 to somebody.
So technically, you'd be holding on to 3 right now. You can either give your to Robert or to Dean. You get to keep 2 because you also had an intrusion. So regardless, you have 2 XP. And there are a few things you can do with those. You can hold on to them and accumulate them. What you do is you use those to enhance yourself. Once you have spent enough points in 4 different fields, you get to level up, go to tier 2, which is what you would have seen in your character creation area for like a second level, third level, etc. If you want to hold on to them short term, you can also spend an XP point to re-roll any roll free of charge.
Oh,
Ooh.
forgot about that. That's true. We can use them for that.
Mm-hmm.
And just for everyone's clarification, the reason that we keep talking about giving them to people, the rule is that when an intrusion happens, whoever it happens to gets an experience point, and then they get to pick one other person who gets an experience point.
Oh,
So, and I had picked Barb last time, so Barb, I think you should pick Ben so that we can spread
yeah. So we've
spread it all
got
out.
yeah, even. Yeah, I'm about that.
And
I'll
that
have to
every
find the
time he
experience track.
intrudes, and the system encourages him to intrude. So like it could happen a few times a session, which is kind of neat. Well, I don't know at what rate we're gonna get points, but it's gonna be cool. I also think theoretically the ones don't provide experience, but we can check that later.
I don't think they're supposed to, but I think it's lame because there aren't a whole lot of opportunities for you guys to get experiences without me just like straight up intruding on something you're doing. And so I would much prefer that if you roll a 1, I get the intrusion. The same with like when she used her ability. I don't know if like that should award XP because technically it's a baked in ability. Intrusion is going to happen regardless. But I don't know. I still think it's more fun for you guys to get a little boon out of something that happens to you. Yeah, so I can send it to you guys, but essentially you have to have 4 XP to put them into fields, and there are 4 different fields to put them in. Once you fill out all 4 fields, it's like a skill increase. You get an edge increase.
Go up to the next tier.
You get to go to the next tier, and then you can unlock 2 new abilities from your class at the second tier, or 2 more from the first tier, whatever you want to do. So it's one of those things where it's a risk reward. You can hold on to the XP and not burn them, and just let the game fall how it falls in order to level yourself up, or you can spend them to reroll stuff. Just know it takes 4, and I would probably hold on to them because I would love to see what happens when you guys. All right, it is the next day, early in the morning. It's a Friday. I assume that things are pretty.
You were cutting in and out a little bit. I'm losing, every last third of a sentence.
I'm sorry. Is that better?
I thought it was just me.
Yeah, that last one was better.
Okay, let me check something really quick.
Heard. Like I said, it's just sort of the end of the sentences, which is why it took me a second.
Is that better?
I got all that.
Okay, I'll turn this up and I'll adjust my gain a little bit. I think what's probably happening is I'm trailing off and my noise cancellation is trying to not pick me up when I do that. So I'll just make sure I stay close to the mic. Anyway, it is Friday morning. You all got okay sleep. I would say that the 2 of you that took items, maybe you had like some weird dreams. Nothing particularly crazy. I'm not really going to call it. But I'll say that both of you probably felt just a little bit, wake up less rested than what you're used to. But no particular negative side effect. And the day is yours.
The shindig ain't till tonight, huh?
Nope. Of course, they know the town's pretty quiet in the afternoons. They're probably going to kick off pretty early. It's not going to be the PM thing. Is probably going to be people start showing up around 4 o'clock in the afternoon and mingling. And if you guys don't have anything in particular you want to do, we can always fast forward. I'm not going to like force you to find something to do or drag it out.
Robert's not sure how to find Tully, but I sort of think he'd check that there's no one waiting at the office. If there's no one waiting in the office, he would go out to the sheriff's office, and he'd kind of stick his head in. He says, Sheriff, you have any interest in sticking our head in the doctor's office? See if if Mr. Pollard paid him a visit.
Sounds about right to me.
Okay.
Like, canonically, he just wants to see if dude actually went to the doctor like he said he would.
All right.
Right.
I'll say when you get there, because of her line of work, she had a similar thought. Tully would be there, whether it's picking up more medical supplies or just like refilling her bag from the last night's events. And if you walk inside, you would see that he's actually still there, laying in a bed. He doesn't look particularly sickly anymore. He actually looks much better. He's got pretty good color. He doesn't seem like he's doubled over anymore. But he also seems like he's not sedated, but heavily drugged.
That stuff you give him yesterday still hitting him that hard, man? You give him too much?
I know what I give him, and I gave him a children's dose, and there ain't no way that is on me.
Robert
Unfortunately
throws
for
his
you,
hands
he's 5'5", 100 pounds. The children's dose was too much.
Yeah, did you give him a decrepit old man dose?
How you feeling
so,
there,
yeah.
What I'm
Mister? How you feeling there, Mr. Pollard?
He'll look at you, and his eyes are like not rolled in the back of his head, but they're definitely, you can see they're like mist. He knows he's here, but he's not. It's not all there 100%. He'll look at you and he'll say, "Oh, it's you, the fellers that doctored me up last night. I'm all right."
Is the doctor around?
Yeah, sure, the doctor's around. Why not?
Robert will just look at the doctor, kind of eyebrow raised, like.
The doctor will look back, and his name's Nathan, and he'll shrug and he'll say, "We gave him a standard course of medication. I don't know if there's a weird. He's been real out of it since he got here this morning, almost."
Well, Sheriff, Tully, don't seem he fibbed to us none. Sounds like we can go about our day and get our work done. Are you coming back for the party tonight, Miss Tully?
I'll
Or should
be
I say-
around here and there. Sometimes these parties like to stir up some unexpected labors.
I've heard excitement does
Yeah.
that.
It's all the hot sauce.
Well, I mean, as sheriff, I gotta go.
Yeah, I promised Effie I'd go.
Probably want me to say something too.
I reckon I'll see y'all folks this evening then. And I think after seeing Dude went and said what he would do, Robert would go finish whatever work he had for the day.
Cool. Anyone have anything specific they want to do outside of that?
Not particularly.
To the dance.
To the dance.
What's the SpongeBob episode of the dance?
Welcome to the town hall. Seems like most notable faces in town have arrived here. You can hear Opaline warming up on the stage a little bit up there with her fiddle. And it looks like she has retreated from the general store and is getting ready to rock and roll. It actually does sound quite beautiful. It sounds like it's nicely tuned. It's making some nice sounds. You guys see a lot of faces that you'd recognize. As soon as you walk in, Robert, Effie, over on the left side of the screen sitting at a table, sort of waves over at you and says, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe you made it. I'm so glad to see you. Come over here. Sit down. Sit down."
You over there? He'd be amiable about it. Guess there's no alcohol because it's not, clandestine setting. Okay.
You haven't checked the bar, but if you look in the upper left-hand corner of the map, there is Robert and
That's the
a man by the name of-
sarsaparilla you discussed.
yeah, he's got the sarsaparilla up there, and a man by the name of Gaines who is chilling at the bar talking.
Okay. I almost called him Dallas. I will get a drink and then return to where Effie's sitting.
Cool. You pop over to the bar. You talk to Bobby for just a second, and Gaines would exchange a couple of words with you. He'd say, "Mighty fine to see you there, lawyer man. I'm glad you're doing well."
You as well. What does Gaines do? Does Robert know?
He works. I mean, you probably know. He works in the mines, so he is usually working. But as far as you're concerned, he's a pretty good guy. He mostly comes across as a family man. He's got a couple of kids, 2 teenage boys. He's married. He's a little bit older, like the middle-aged. And the main thing is you would recognize him because almost every single time you've been in the speakeasy, he's also been. The man might like sauce a little bit. I don't know.
Robert, as he's leaving, he says, "Put a drink on. Put one of his drinks, his next drink, on my tab, please." Because I'm assuming Robert has lawyer money, so he'll put money down for the tab, and it's not a small tab.
Bobby nods, and so does Gaines. So thank you kindly. Hope you have a good evening.
You as well.
And before you make it back to the table, he's probably almost finished that drink.
Okay, well. I'm not enabling his addiction, I swear. For personal gain, I would never. I would never.
In the same token, you guys can decide where you want to go, but I would say that Miss Odessa probably calls over to maybe both of you, but she definitely seems to have where the heck is it at? Trying to do something. She definitely seems to have more of an affinity for Tully. Maybe it's like she sort of helped her with some midwife and stuff. Maybe it's that between the two of them, she comes into her shop, which is not a common knowledge shop, but it's definitely a shop that exists to procure some items. And her sweet old grandma voice, she says, "Oh, sweet honey child, come over here, sit at the table. I've been missing some company."
Likewise, I ain't had no company but a bunch of scoundrels lately.
And
Sorry about us. Rude.
Dean, you could definitely go with her if you want. You can look around the floor because you probably know almost everybody. They can have conversations about anybody you want to. I'll show you some of the main players that you haven't already spoken to. On the right side, you have Dion Beatty. He is one of the foremen at the mines. And I thought I knew how to make his stuff bigger, but I can't remember.
I don't know if this is supposed to be, but I can only see the name for Donald. It's the only token I can actually see the name plate on.
Whoa, that's weird.
Now I can see Dion's.
Okay. So apparently, in order to do this, I have to give you all control
Sorry, stream.
of every token. Nifty. That's okay. I'll get this doctored up. Anyway, most of the main players in town are... So, you're obviously hanging out with Effie.
Yes, sir.
Where, Odessa's up here at the table. You have Gaines at the bar, along with Bobby. Up here is Aurelia Norman, and she's... How would you describe her? She's a little bit of a wild child. She doesn't really seem to care about people a ton, but she seems to care about animals. She is Devin in real life. And then you have Donald, he had already met, and Dion B. Corner. He is a foreman at the mines, so he is actually Gaines' boss and somebody who's gotten a little bit of notoriety for being zealous. He has a desire to climb the ladder and to gain some power and to figure out where he can make himself a sort of impact in the world. And those are the major players you see right now. So anybody can go talk to anybody. I didn't want to fill the whole place out with like little cartoony characters and tokens and stuff, and so you can just imagine that a lot of tables probably have a handful of people sitting at them. Even already, like there's a handful of people in the middle of the lightly dancing, sort of stepping on each other's feet, spinning in circles, and just goofing off while Opaline warms up the stage. There's a few people behind her. She's not a solo act, so she actually has 4 or 5 people who get up on the stage and dance with her or perform with her. Sometimes Effie also gets up there because she has quite a nice singing voice. But tonight she made special choice to come sit at the table because she would much rather have a dance and get up on the stage.
She'll get her 3 promised dances. He is a man of his word.
Before we proceed, Dean, is there anybody that you want to go talk to or anybody?
Not particularly. I'd say that Dean would just be walking around, keeping an eye on the room,
Doing your patrol makes a lot of sense.
just doing casual cop stuff.
I like to think every time you pass Robert, he hands you a glass, like a drink, a champagne glass, or a sarsaparilla bottle.
You know, sheriff's in the building. He didn't say anything. I guess it's all right. He's probably cleverly disguised the drinks tonight, and essentially he's bought them as if beer in a press that he made, but it's all the way down. It's just booze. Depending on how he marked the bottom of the bottle, sometimes there's like.
Here's the deal, though. See, prohibition, that's just something you hear about in the city. All right, we're out in the country. It ain't really a thing. We're honest folks, and we like to celebrate.
I assume that Miss Odessa presses you just said you've been running around with heathen. Like, what are you talking about, dude?
Oh, you know, that sheriff always got me doing something for him. Can't never do no work himself.
Oh, dang sheriff. Every story I hear about him, I feel like he's just a lazy old sack. I don't know what to do with that.
Man's got his demons, but, you know, so do we all. And here we are, you know, just dealing with it. He's got me dealing with his own stuff. Acting like I don't got my own to deal with. Just shaking her head and kind of lighting up a cigarette.
All right, sweetie. Well, doing all right. You can definitely linger at my tables. Mingle a little bit, but I think I know you well enough.
Yeah, it's on that. Sorry. She's just gonna hang out there a little bit and just kind of watch. You know, any second now. I gotta be here just on hand.
Alrighty then. And I guess the rest of you sort of mingle for a little. And they're actually starting to play some tunes, some actual music. At first it was sort of... Sorry, give me just a second.
It's not as bad.
Okay.
Not as bad. It's just getting like now it's like the last syllable. I don't know what's up. It's really weird.
I don't know. I turn my sound can or my noise.
Yeah, still losing the end of stuff. That time there was static.
1 second.
We was just losing like the end of like you'd say a sentence and we'd lose like the end of the second sentence, but the last minute or two has gotten a little worse.
Is that any better?
That was.
Okay. I don't know. We're going to keep rolling with it and hope that it stops.
That was better.
Okay. Yeah, I jiggled the cable and then I also turned like a noise gate off in Discord.
This is better.
Okay, good deal. If you start hearing other outside noises, I'm sorry. I turned my noise cancellation off to stop that from happening, so maybe you'll hear other stuff too. Apologies.
We got every bit of that, so.
Cool. Beautiful. Okay, so Opaline starts to actually start playing a little bit. And it's, you know, very traditional bluegrass music you're used to hearing. And so, like, the fiddle starts to warm up a little bit. She starts piping into her microphone.
Kryptonite.
It's exactly what it is. 3 doors down. That's incredible. Three Fiddles
Down
Brown.
Yonder.
So Three Fiddles Brown start playing up on the stage, and everybody starts singing a little bit. You have like a stand-up bass. You have a guy who's like playing on one of the scratch boards. You have a guy who's on a jug. It's very old school. And it's upbeat. People start clapping. People start dancing. And of course, Effie's gonna be like, "All right, Robert, now's your time. You better get out there with me."
He won't complain. He won't make a face. He'll I don't even think he really looks that nervous about it. He'll stroll out there with her, and I don't know if he knows how to dance or not. If he does, he'll just take the lead and start going. If not, he'll what's what I'm looking for? He'll follow her lead. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I don't want to make you roll for that. There are like actual performance check things you can do for like different levels of stuff. So apparently like music playing and dancing and things like that are skills you can pick up. For the sake of this, that seems kind of ridiculous to roll for, so I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is let you guys get out there and cut a rug.
Okay. Robert will go out there and cut a rug to the best of his ability. He promised that woman 3 dances. She gonna get her 3 dances.
Does anyone else want to go out there and dance while the dance floor is open? Everybody starts to get out there. And it's actually funny because some of the people seem like they're pretty good dancers. Some of them seem pretty terrible. Like Aurelia up here, you can tell that she spent most of her life sort of hanging out by herself on a farm. She's more like thrashing about than she is actually dancing or doing anything. She seems sort of like an animal. Donald tries to dance, and he even looks like maybe he walks over to Aurelia like he wants to dance with her, and she just shrugs him off, like just straight up ignores the dude and keeps going. Odessa's, she's interested, but she's a little old. She's not really sure how comfortable she feels getting out there. But you see Dion over here start to pop onto the dance floor, dance a little bit. Same with Gaines. He pops over here in the corner. And you see people start to pair off with random other folks in the town as they're enjoying this moment. And you get about 2 or 3 songs in, Robert, you feel like you've about put in your time. And then you guys notice something. It feels like the cadence abruptly changes. You hear like a ding, and then it's like the octave of the fiddle drops. And even as you look at the rest of the stage, nobody else on the stage seems to know exactly what's going on. But Opaline seems very confident in what she's doing. And you think for a second, maybe this is just like an original piece. She's about to spin something out. Like she talked earlier in the week, I'm going to premiere something for you guys. It's going to be awesome. And then you hear another one, but deeper. Ding. And then she takes her bow, and when she slides it across the fiddle, it sounds like a fork scraping across a ceramic plate. And at first it's jarring, and everybody sort of pauses and they hate it. But then she finds her pacing, and she finds her space, and she begins to saw. And it's not the same upbeat song that you were hearing before, but it is sort of soothing. It sounds like it belongs. The problem is the rest of the band does not seem to follow whatever it is that she's doing. And the tone is low, and it rumbles, and it growls, and it feels almost uncomfortable in your gut. And as you look around the room, something doesn't feel quite right. I need all of you to make intellect defense rolls.
I'm scared. Oh.
Oh, snap. That's pretty good.
Is that just a D20?
I was about to say, if you go to like where your might, your speed, and your intellect is, if you go to where those pools are on the character sheet, there's like a little D20 dice icon next to the word intellect, and it should roll. It should roll that like. Did it pop up on Roll20? It asks you like what's the DC, and it asks you if you have any modifiers.
Oh,
I
see.
Yeah, so just press OK twice because we don't add anything to these. Yeah, there we go.
Wow. Okay. That's actually incredible. You all passed.
Fucking Dean and Sam Winchester over here are like, hold on, wait.
As you look around the room, you notice that something seems wrong. And it's at this moment that first Robert notices it because he's dancing so closely to Florence. Her hair has gone gray. And she looks at you kind of confused. And it seems like she's trying to summon your name, but she can't quite produce it. You can see her getting visibly frustrated by this. One of the people who's on the stage, it looks like their hip locks up and they fall over out of their chair. It's the guy with the stand-up bass, and the bass sort of collapses to the ground in a calamity of noise. Dion Beatty also locks up, and as he's trying to dance, he falls over onto the ground. It looks like he's aged 20 years. And as you look around the room, it seems like this is happening everywhere as this sound begins to penetrate first your brain and then your core. It feels like it's consuming and overwhelming you. And as you look at Opaline on the stage, it almost looks like she's no longer in control. She is sawing away at this fiddle, this terrible cacophony of sound that sounds like it's being beautifully played, but is also ominous and destructive and terrifying as it rattles your soul. And she can't seem to stop herself. And all of you rolled well, so you have a moment to decide how it is that you want to handle this.
It's time to
I'm gonna go
split,
knock
boy.
that fiddle out of her hand.
Yeah, you can certainly try to knock the fiddle out of her hand. Do you want to go ahead and roll me? I'm gonna say give me a might roll, which for you is probably just a flat d20.
While he's sprinting across the room, Robert's shadow for like 3/4 of a second looks like it's made of static. Before that effect stops, he's gonna try to grab Effie and try to take her out of the room, or try to get her to the door.
Okay. You also make me a might roll.
Talitha's just gonna split. I
So
ain't
this is
paid
bye.
enough for this bullshit.
Oof, those are both pretty rough. Neither one of those actually pass. You try to snatch the fiddle out of her hand, and you reach for it. And it's like in the moment of her swaying with the music and sawing away at that thing, she gets really into it, swings the bow up on the fiddle, and you sort of like fall to her wayside and hit the ground beside her feet. Florence seems like she wants to help you so badly, but in her state, she's having a little bit of a hard time walking. Between the two of you, you could definitely get her outside, but it's not going to be as swiftly as you hoped it would be because it's not a contested roll, so she's gonna get outside. It's just how quickly it happens. You do manage to scoop her out. I'll say that Donald also tries to, I don't know, follow the sheriff's lead and pop up there. And hilariously, for the one time in his life, he actually rolls pretty well. And he sort of like slaps the bottom of the bow out of her hand. And as he does, she sort of snaps to like she was in a trance, and she looks at everybody. Everybody has aged so grotesquely around her in different ways. Some people look older, some people don't, but they seem feeble. Their spines are crooked. They're having a hard time walking. And she screams, a blood-curdling scream as she panics and releases the fiddle and drops it to the stage. And then she runs for the door.
Good job, Deputy.
If Robert's next to the door, he will try to catch her as she's running out.
You guys were headed towards the door, so I would say you were. I guess you could grab her if you wanted to. Do you want to ask her something?
Hang on a second there. Hang on. It's okay.
She'll say, no, it's not okay. What are you talking about? I couldn't control myself, and every single person around me, something terrible happened to them. It's all my fault.
That's not necessarily true. Tell me what just happened from your side of things, your perspective.
And she explains to you that no matter how hard she fought, she felt an overwhelming compulsion to play a very specific song on her fiddle, and that she tried to fight it, that nothing she did could actually fight it, and that eventually the inner thought, it was almost like an intrusive thought, won and took over her body and forced her to play the song she kept hearing in her head.
What song? One you wrote?
No, I didn't write that. It's a song you just heard. I don't know where that came from. I ain't never heard it before in my life.
Oh, wow. Mr. Gaines, could you possibly see Miss Reeves home safe? Please, sir.
He'll nod cordially, and he looks like he's walking around okay. And he was already middle-aged, so most of his hair was white, but now his hair looks like it's balding, like it's falling out. And he'll walk over and he'll say, "I'll do my best to get her home. I'm having a hard time remembering where that is, but I think I know where I'm going."
I say if everybody was hit, if Aurelia wasn't hit, maybe we should ask Aurelia. But I don't know. Maybe we just send her home. It didn't seem like Effie wasn't worried about going home by herself earlier, so maybe we just tell her to go home and get some rest.
To the best of your accord, it looks like the only person that wasn't affected besides you guys was old Opaline.
Ooh.
Is Odessa okay?
Odessa confusingly was not affected, and you're not sure why, because you've never known her to be able to do anything particularly spectacular, but for some reason it didn't hit her. And I assume that Tully's still at the table with her when this all breaks out. And she looks at Tully.
Tully was ready to split.
When everyone's, I guess I'll rewind this just a bit. When you guys notice it happening and everyone's starting to age just a little bit, she looks at Tully and then she looks at the floor and she looks up at the stage. She looks back at Tully and she says, "Them some deep magics. Something's wrong. Something's terrible wrong. You need to come to my shop when we get out of here. We need to talk. I think you might need help."
Yes, reckon she's right.
He'll say we take the fiddle with us.
It might not be a bad idea.
That is a good idea.
I want to just leave it here. Because I can't tell if the fiddle affected... I can't tell if the fiddle affected the repairman or if the repairman affected the fiddle, but
yeah,
something's up here.
Indeed.
What I can tell you for sure is that as you walk up to pick it up, you notice that Donald is like locked in on it. He's staring hard. You don't know why, 'cause you don't hear or see anything, but for some reason that dude is like zoned in on it.
Don't go home. You done enough.
He sort of shakes his head. He's like, I'm sorry, I'm getting out of here. My apologies. He trips over his own 2 feet as he tries to bolt for the door. Yeah.
Let's take it to Odessa's shop. I kind of like to think that Robert walks Effie home, since it's a town. It shouldn't be, too much out of the way.
No, and you have to go right past, like, the sort of road. So just outside of the general store is like the town hall is like the row of stores, like the general store, all kinds of other stuff. The weird thing is that you don't remember Odessa having like a shop, but it seems like Tully knows there is one, so probably just follow her lead.
Yeah, Tully leads the way.
I would say that you could get her home, and that you could still sort of be like, all right, we got to make a pit stop, drop her off, and then. Yeah.
By the time he gets her home and leaves, does she still look aged?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like whatever happened is stopping happening.
Okay, interesting.
They're not getting older, but they're not getting younger.
Okay. I'll follow Tully. And Tully we trust.
Tully leads the way.
Okay.
I take my jacket off and scoop the the fiddle up without touching it and carry it with us.
Smart,
I like
smart. That was very clever. Okay.
Anyway,
So it's, at this point it's kind of dark outside. You guys have danced for a little bit. Everybody's really old, and you find yourselves inside of a shop.
Hey.
And there's Miss Odessa hanging out on her little stool, looking at you guys all concernedly about what just went down.
I'm concerned about all that creepy shit in the jars. Continue.
Don't you worry yourself
all
about
right,
that, young
Miss
fella.
Odessa, what on earth is going on?
She'll look at you real long and she'll say, I wish I had an answer to that, but if I'm being honest with you, that's some deep magics. I could do some stuff, but I ain't never seen nothing like that. It seemed like it came from the fiddle. Well, that don't make no sense, because most of the time, unless it's a real strong item, it's the person that wields the power.
Well, we got the fiddle here if you want to take a look at it, see if it's got any oomph to it.
Okay. Tully, make me an intellect roll. And
Oh,
do you have anything that eases, like, identification of things or anything like that? Do any of you?
I only
Hold
have
on.
perception. And using magic, which does not sound the same.
Okay.
Let's see. I have something I didn't put a description to. Whoops. That's understanding magic. I can look that up in a second.
I would say that
don't know if that-
qualifies here. Oh, no, it's an inability
Oh, I
in
can-
understanding magic.
Oh, it's an inability. That's right. Whoops. Yeah, that's why I put it there.
Yeah, it's so weird to me that you can use it, but you can't understand it or make it. If you can craft it, you
Oh.
can't make it or use it. Or, I mean, yeah, you can't understand it or use it.
But I am going to rule that because you are trained in crafting magic, that you will be able to ease this task if you want to roll me an intellect roll.
Another intellect roll. Okay.
Yeah, give me that roll.
Wow, a 2.
Oof.
We ain't feeling it tonight, boys.
With a 2, I don't think you know a ton. I decided to roll for Odessa, and I rolled a nat 20, so I think that's probably what we needed.
Oh.
I was gonna say this ain't a baby. This is a fiddle. So
She looks at it long and hard, laying there inside of the sheriff's coat. And you see her first squint, and then her eyes get real wide. And she points at it and she says, Somebody did something to this fiddle. It was not like this the last time I seen it. There's some deep magics emanating from that thing, and it looks like, and the longer she stares, the more she sort of points to a specific section. You realize she's pointing at a piece of wood that was replaced on the body of the fiddle, right on the side. She's that's not regular wood. That came from something ancient, something powerful, and I think it's mad.
well, boys, that repairman went no good.
It definitely doesn't seem like it. Can you do anything about it?
Even with a nat 20, she looks at it and she's like, I ain't doing nothing with that fella. I'll tell you what we're going to do with it. And she opens up a chest that she has underneath the bar you see to the left. And then she takes the whole coat and everything, just dumps the fiddle in, like wrings out the coat and slams the box shut. She says, ain't nobody touching that. Me foremost. I ain't trying to die tonight.
You right, honey. You old enough as is.
Hmm.
Ooh.
And she looks
Something
across all
fishy.
of you, but specifically at Tully, and she says, I'm afraid that whatever caused this ain't gonna stop. Or even if it does, it's gonna send something else. I honestly don't know, but what I can tell you is I've seen that you have the gift, whether they know it or not. She's speaking a little bit low. And she says, I know that you can do things. I think it would be in your best interest, in the best interest of all your friends, if you'd at least take the time to dig in, see if you could figure something out, figure out what caused this? What's going on? Whoever repaired this ain't telling you the truth. They might have been a rube in the situation, but they had to known something was wrong.
Man that was touching it last we figured was just as sick. I gave him
wait
a little something for his name.
Wait a fucking second. Did we see that dude at the dance?
You sure didn't.
Never done.
Good for nothing man. Putting his good for nothing wood on this good for nothing violin.
You also remember he looked daggum near death when you saw him.
Yeah. Oh my.
Very similar to how some of the people laying in the middle of the town hall looked when you guys were done.
We about to go find this fucker dead in the hospital.
And on that note, it is midnight for you guys. Would you like to go to something else? There's one more thing we can probably wrap up tonight, or would you like to go ahead and say we're done for the night?
I think a little bit longer.
Same.
I think we'll probably go for
We gonna go to the hospital and shake this guy down?
maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Sounds like it.
Okay.
Even if
Um,
he's dead, we shake him down some more.
Before you leave,
That's the loot goblin talking.
she's gonna look kind of longingly at you, and she's gonna say, y'all reckon you gonna try to handle this? Or I don't want to tell you to put yourselves in danger or nothing, but y'all seem the most capable so far of anybody I talked to, and I know at least a couple of you touched by some kind of gift.
Well, I reckon if anything is affecting this town, it's my responsibility.
You know I'm
Well.
always stuck handling these situations.
As long as you think you're gonna help deal with it, I can't send you off empty-handed. I'd feel so bad. I want all of you to roll me a D100.
Ooh.
3.
A 3, beautiful.
Praise Hail, praise Dale.
And Tully, you get to roll. Sorry, I should have clarified this. You get to roll with advantage, and I need you to roll it twice.
Oh. Oh boy. Wow. I also feel the spirit of old Dale.
True.
Alrighty.
Legend in the South.
Let's see what we
True
got.
Appalachian fashion.
That's too bad. This
We
is
channel
like
the
what?
spirit of old Dale.
Several decades
Okay.
before he was born.
So roll me 2 more D100s, Tully.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Yeah,
what'd
that
you
was
do?
that was your first roll with advantage.
Oh.
Which I say advantage, really, it's more or less like your relationship with her means that this it's not necessarily that the task is eased. It's more that, how do I narrate this? She'll look at you guys and she'll say, I want to send something with you, but the thing is, typically I charge people for this kind of stuff. As a gift, I can't really choose it for you. I gotta let you choose it, or more, let it choose you.
The wand chooses the
and she'll
wizard.
tell you one at a time to sort of reach up and head towards the cabinet of jars that you see behind you, or behind her. And she'll essentially explain to you that she has a very vast and old collection of ciphers, and that she can't send you off empty-handed, but that the cipher has to choose you. And what you guys rolled just now was to see what kind of cipher you guys get. Oh. All right, Robert. Your cipher kind of blows. I'm sorry.
I think I'll live. Maybe. If I don't live, I guess that does blow.
I'm just gonna send you a screenshot of this. It'll be that way. And for Dean, you got.
You got mail.
I think that's right up my alley.
It does make sense to have it. It's more or less like you're not gonna have like an insane amount of usefulness for it in any kind of like, I need to save my life situation. Maybe.
Oh no, but I can use it to socially manipulate people, and that's all Robert ever wants to do.
Good lord.
16 to 30. Ooh, interesting. Oh snap. Okay, well, Tully, your first cipher is pretty solid. I think it'll be very helpful to you guys. It also fits your character really well.
Yeah.
And then I'll sort of audibly say out loud what I'm doing behind the scenes here in just a second.
Ooh,
Just my turn.
I love this. Thanks.
Oh snap. Well, that's kind of cool. All right, so people got some interesting things from this. The jar spoke to them, and a few of them got, in my opinion, better things than others. But you know, it's all about perspective of the person who has it. So Robert got something called an apple head doll, and essentially it is a stick doll carved with a dried apple for a head and an open mouth. And you can sew, pin, or glue the doll's mouth shut while saying the name of someone you can see, and for the next 10 minutes they'll have trouble communicating and all of their interaction tasks are hindered. Which I do think fits very well for a lawyer. That was complete and total accident. Thank you, D100, for rolling that for me. Sheriff Dean got a chicken feather brush. It is a handmade chicken feather brush with a turned maple handle. And you can brush the feather across an object, such as a building, cipher, or weapon, while asking for permission to know it. You learn something important and useful about the object, which is also interesting for the item that you got earlier in the session.
Yeah, exactly.
And then our friend Tully got two things because of her relationship with Miss Odessa. The first one's a canary box. It is a small wooden box filled with the bones and feathers of a canary who died protecting miners. And if you bury the box and cover it with 3 large stones while saying the words of thanks, for the next day the canary spirit tips you off, easing your task in sensing danger and initiative. Eases by 2 steps if the cipher is level 5 or higher, so you will have to roll for that. And you also got a dark splinter. It's a jagged piece of black hawthorn wood covered with sharp, bristled spines. You attach the wood to a weapon, and for the next 10 minutes per cipher level, successful attacks with the weapon also blind a seeing foe for 1 round.
Pocket sand, haha.
So that's pretty cool. I don't know how you lucked out and got 2 very good ciphers, but you did. Congratulations, Tully.
Huzzah.
And she will also let you know that since you've all been here now, her shop is available to you ciphers in the future. You will either have to bring her crafting components for them that you have paid for or earned, or you can give her money and try to buy a cipher, but it will be sort of luck of the draw. And that's it with her, I guess. She's old. She's tired. She gave you guys some jars full of animal
Same.
guts and antlers and bones and thorns and everything else.
Creepy dolls.
Creepy dolls. Is there anything else anybody wants to ask her before you leave?
No, she gave us.
You ever
that
drink
all help
Bailey's
she
from a
could.
stew? Sorry.
answer's no.
Sorry.
Stop.
She
love
will
me?
tell you on the way out that she recommends you guys stop by the general store at some point tomorrow. Because if you're going to do the town of service, then you might have more luck there acquiring goods that you potentially could need for travel/danger. She'll leave it at that.
We gotta find out if this fucker's alive or not first.
Okay.
Yeah, we really do.
As you, I mean, it's gonna be daytime, but whatever. As you leave her store, hilariously, you don't have to go very far, because as you start to walk down the main square, he is actually outside of the doctor's office trying to find his way back down the street. It looks like maybe he's trying to head towards the train station, the direction that he's going, but he hasn't made it very far.
Is
Someone
he-
tackle him.
Yeah, is he walking straight? Is
Yeah,
he
right.
like staggering? You know, Like,
He's walking okay, but he's walking very slow.
Ted kind of like jog up to him and be like, "Well, hold on there, old timer. Where are you running off to so quick?" Sharply sarcastic, by the way.
I felt it best to make myself a little scarce. I don't know. It seems like weird stuff's happening around here, and I don't like it much.
Yeah, you start to want to get out of here once the weird stuff starts happening. It's not suspicious at all.
I ain't trying to get caught.
get caught.
Sir, I reckon you already got.
How do you
Get
know?
caught.
How do you know weird stuff's going on?
Well, for starters, I was sick as a dog, and then I left that townhouse, and some creepy old man offered to give me a gift if I wanted it. I seen right through that, Hank. No thanks. And I went to come into the town, and I saw a bunch of old people fleeing out of the town hall right when I was getting ready to go to the dance.
You got some sort of prejudice against old folks?
Well, for ones, I seen at least a few of them around town the day before, and I knowed they weren't old before they walked in.
It's been or something, mate. You ain't telling us.
You can press them on it if you want. Do you have anything that helps you with intimidation? I know.
A knife?
I mean,
Can I stand behind him and make my shadows wiggle?
I do just have intimidation.
Okay. I assume you're trained in that. Maybe an intellect roll. Wait, no, maybe a might roll. I feel like might is better for intimidation.
There we go.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh.
And I think with you having the shadows woggle around a little bit, I'm gonna ease that. So I think that is
Or
just
make
enough.
them like almost like Full Metal Alchemist Pride, like circle around him, make little spiky looking shapes.
He sort of sighs a real deep sigh. He's tired. He leans up against the post outside the building. He says, "Listen, I'm gonna shoot you straight. I travel all up and down this place, and I heard a lady saying something about a fiddle being busted. Somebody sent me out towards the woods, some sort of laurel thicket out behind this old man's barn. I don't know how long I was in there. It felt like a month, weeks. Time's different in there, right? And after wandering for so long, I came across this tree. And it was old and it was ancient. It was as big as a dozen men around. And it talked to me, okay? At first I thought I was hallucinating, and I realized I definitely wasn't hallucinating. And she just told me, she said, "You take one of my branches, fix the girl's fiddle, and spread my voice around. And if you do that, I'll let you leave here." I was lost for weeks, a month, I don't know. I was scared. I didn't think I was ever gonna make it out. And sure enough, she gave me the branch, and it's like the woods opened up. I just walked right out the place like nothing happened. And so I used it to fix the fiddle. So I assumed it was fine. She's a smart tree. She didn't hurt me none.
Dion be writing all this down as he's saying it.
Seems like whatever this thing was, its voice is not very healthy for any of us. He gave us
Do any of
directions.
us know about this laurel thicket?
Yeah, I was about to say, do we know how to get there?
As soon as he mentions that it's behind an old barn, you remember, I think all of you would know because you live here, the story of Jimmy, who had a barn that butted up against the back of a laurel thicket well south of here. And he went into the legend says that he went into the laurel thicket behind his plantation home trying to retrieve his lost hog. Nobody ever saw Jimmy again, but the hog came trotting into town 3 days later like nothing happened. So you know of a location, you know where an old farmstead is, and you know that there's an urban legend surrounding it at least. I'll also say, and I want to remind you because we're new to this. Robert does have something that would allow him to pry on whether or not someone's telling the full truth about things.
Robert will twist his ring. I know he's trained in seeing through deception, pardon, but I think he'll twist his ring 3 times and kind of try not to make it obvious he's squinting at him.
Okay.
Maybe he would. Maybe they don't care. If they're intimidating him, he's just going to squint at him.
Okay. As you do that, you start to hear his mind race. And you piece together over the course of a short period of time while he's telling some of this that he's telling you partial truths, but not entire truths. He was telling the truth about finding the tree. He was telling the truth about being lost in a laurel thicket. But what he failed to leave out was that the tree didn't give him the piece of wood to spread her voice. He begged the tree for a way out. And the tree offered him a branch. But the payment was not to spread her voice. It was to find a replacement for her. And you start to hear the actual story slowly piece together. That this tree is ancient. And that the only task it has in life is holding back something even deeper and more foul and more ancient. And that she is tired. And that she made a deal with him. That if she let him out, that he would send someone back who could help her retire from this duty that she's been forced to uphold for all these centuries. And he didn't hold up his end of the bargain. And so, the best he could tell, she cursed the piece of wood that he took from her as payment for him not holding up his end of the bargain.
I was like, you get away with that, huh?
Well, this definitely doesn't sound good. I don't think there's much more this man can help us with. Unless you're going to arrest him, Sheriff.
I reckon you should keep him under lock of some sort till we get this sorted out proper.
You could certainly opt to do that if you want. But I think that's where we're going to end it tonight.
Mm.
You guys have survived the dance. You've uncovered the sort of secrets as to what went down and why. You've made some interesting encounters with people that weren't supposed to be here. And, well, now you at least have a direction. You pointed at something you're supposed to go dig into. And we'll find out how it goes next time.
Some scary laurels.